Chapter 1389. However, the Great Ten Alliance in the Hidden Dragon Crypt was imprisoned in the Hidden Dragon Crypt by the Dragon Prison Castle, which was as famous as the Murong family. From this, it was not difficult to see how much the Murong family had declined. Tang Ao believed that with Shi Nuan Yun's desire for these 8 tokens, Shi Nuan Yun would not stop Xiao Yu from attacking the Murong family under such circumstances. With Xiao Yu's body refining realm level 9 cultivation base, the Murong family, which was currently plagued with internal and external troubles, could be said to be unstoppable. After seeing the token in Zhao Tao's hand, an azure blue radiance circulated in Tang Ao's eyes. He instantly executed the heavenly polar eyes. Tang Ao did not know what the Fallen Star token was used for, but Tang Ao knew that since the Fallen Star token had caught the eye of a heavenly turbid realm expert like Shi Yun, it must be an extraordinary item. Previously, he did not have the chance to do so. Now that he had the chance, he could naturally investigate it clearly. Under the gaze of the heavenly polar eyes, everything around Tang Ao immediately became incomparably clear. Everything around him was within Tang Ao's control. However, the moment the heavenly polar eyes saw the Fallen Star token, Tang Ao was stunned. This was because the Fallen Star token actually had many rune restrictions similar to the primordial sacred heaven bow and the Shinnon cauldron. This meant that the Fallen Star token was at least a treasure of the same level as the primordial sacred heaven bow and the Shinnon cauldron. The origin of the primordial sacred heaven bow was not very clear to Tang Ao. He only knew that in his previous life, the primordial sacred heaven bow was the treasure of the heavenly bow sect. As for the Shinnon cauldron, Tang Ao clearly knew that it was the treasure of the Shinnon emperor. The rune restrictions in the Fallen Star token were very similar to the rune restrictions in the primordial sacred heaven bow and the Shinnon cauldron. However, Tang Ao could vaguely feel that the rune restrictions in the Fallen Star token were slightly more ancient. Previously, Tang Ao had not expected that the Fallen Star token would actually be such a precious item. Master Red, I found this on a skeleton in the Poison Miasma Valley. It said that this is one of the 8 identity tokens that the 8 major forces found in the ruins of the Flying Star Cliff. I'm willing to give this token to Master Red, and I hope that Master Red can let me and Wen Yao live. The Blood Moon Red would not find you for no reason. This was something most of the martial artists in the Hidden Dragon Cave had heard before. So once the Blood Moon Red found you, if you had no hope of living, then you should die a quick death. When Shui Weihong saw the medallion, she felt touched. Just as she was about to accept the medallion, a powerful force suddenly blew over. The force was even sharper than a sword. The black boulder beside Shui Weihong and Zhao Tao was cut open by the sword energy. The cut was as smooth as a mirror. After the sword attack arrived, Blood Yuehong did not move at all. Instead, Zhao Tao turned around to look. Zhao Tao knew that this token was one of the 8 tokens that the 8 major powers had found. Naturally, he also knew that the token in his hand belonged to the Shangguan family. Zhao Tao knew that this badge was one of the 8 badges the 8 superpowers had found. Therefore, he knew that the badge in his hand belonged to the Shangguan family. Zhao Tao knew that this token was one of the 8 tokens that the 8 major powers had found. Naturally, he also knew that the token in his hand belonged to the Shangguan family. Chapter 1390. However, the Fallen Star token hadn't even warmed up in Blood Yuehong's hand when Shangguan Yi slapped it away. Facing Shangguan Yi, who was at the 9th stage of the body refining realm, Blood Yuehong's cultivation instantly increased. Under everyone's gaze, she instantly reached the peak of the 9th stage of the body refining realm. Tang Ao was slightly shocked. When Tang Ao had used his soul remembrance to investigate Blood Yuehong, he hadn't discovered that she had hidden her cultivation. Thus, Tang Ao admired her. Blood Yuehong's method of hiding her cultivation wasn't weak. After seeing the trajectory of the Fallen Star token, Tang Ao didn't try to snatch it. This was because Tang Ao saw that in this short period of time, 2 more acquaintances had arrived. Moreover, these two acquaintances had the same goal. They had come for the fallen star token. One of them was Wu Han, whom Tang Ao had met not long ago. The other was Xiao Yu, whom he had seen in Shen Wanyan's thatched cottage. The two didn't waste any words. When they saw the fallen star token flying over, they both rose from the ground and grabbed at the fallen star token. Because Wu Han had made the first move, he grabbed the fallen star token first. However, just as he grabbed the fallen star token, Xiao Yu's fan slapped Wu Han's wrist. Wu Han felt the pain and let go of the fallen star token. Xiao Yu saw an opportunity and immediately grabbed the fallen star token. However, at this moment, a blood aura surged behind Xiao Yu. While Xiao Yu was stunned, a blood-colored shadow grabbed the fallen star token and fled to the other side. Seeing that the fallen star token was being fought over by people at the same level as Blood Yue Hong and Shang Wan, many martial artists immediately retreated far away. Everyone liked to watch a commotion, but a fight between experts of this level wasn't very entertaining. If one wasn't careful, they could lose their life. Tang Ao also indicated for Situ Qianqian to retreat. After Tang Ao retreated from the crowd, he circled around to the back of the four people fighting Blood Yue Hong. Tang Ao was also very interested in this meteorite token. Although Tang Ao was not an opponent of these four guys, Tang Ao felt that it was not impossible to grab the meteorite token as long as he seized the opportunity. Thus, Tang Ao quietly sat cross-legged on a large tree and quietly watched the battle. Although Shui Yue Hong's reputation was resounding, the other three did not give him any face. In just a short while, the four of them had already engaged in a chaotic battle. The Fallen Star token was also constantly changing hands. Tang Ao was speechless when he saw their playstyle. If they continued fighting like this, he wouldn't have the chance to snatch the Fallen Star token at all. Even so, Tang Ao did not give up easily. Opportunities could come by, or they could be created by themselves. Tang Ao hadn't thought about how to create an opportunity to snatch the meteorite token, but it was not a problem for Tang Ao to wait and see. Moreover, these four people could basically be considered the top martial artists in the Hidden Dragon Crypt. Therefore, the battle between a few of them was still very enjoyable to watch. Among the four, Wu Han was surrounded by blood, aura, and looked very evil. Tang Ao knew that this was caused by Wu Han using the evil blood technique. However, Wu Han's evil blood technique was obviously much more powerful than Tang Ming's. After Tang Ming used the evil blood technique, he was completely delirious. Chapter 1391. Therefore, everyone was shocked. Who on earth were these two fellows fighting Blood Yue Hong and Shang Wanyi? Who was the strongest in the Hidden Dragon Caves? Currently, no one could return. However, if the Hidden Dragon Caves selected the top 10, Shang Wanyi and Blood Yue Hong would definitely be on the list. In that case, it was highly likely that the two masked men were among the top 10 experts. However, when everyone compared the top 10 experts, they found that these two fellows weren't even in the top 10. They weren't in the top 10, but their own strength was so powerful. Everyone couldn't help but sigh. This Hidden Dragon Caves was too big. There would always be some elusive fellows with powerful martial strength. In truth, it was not just the spectators below who were surprised. Even Shui Yue Hong and Shang Wanyi were surprised. The two of them simply could not understand where these two strange fellows had come from. They could actually fight on equal grounds with them. On the other side, Tang Ao saw that Shui Yue Hong and the others were equally matched. If this continued, by the time a victor was determined, Tang Ao reckoned that the Crouching Dragon Bazaar would be cancelled. Thinking of this, Tang Ao jumped down from the tree. After arriving at a hidden place, Tang Ao took out a few array flags and threw them into a specific area. Immediately, Tang Ao's figure instantly hid in the cat forest. This was a normal concealment restriction that could hide from a martial artist's naked eye. Some weaker martial artists wouldn't be able to detect it with their sole remembrance. However, Tang Ao's current position was far from the spectators. Tang Ao had just used his sole remembrance to scan around, and there was no one nearby. Therefore, Tang Ao prepared to come here to do something. Tang Ao took out black iron, ink steel, and half a kilogram of meteoric iron sand from his storage ring. Then, Tang Ao took out a crafting furnace. Tang Ao already had the farmer god cauldron for pill concoction. Therefore, Tang Ao felt that he was still missing a crafting furnace. Tang Ao didn't choose to come here to forge at this time because he had nothing better to do. On the contrary, Tang Ao wanted to imitate some fake fallen star tokens according to the appearance of the fallen star token. The strength of Blood Moon and Scarlet's 4 fellows was difficult to determine. Thus, even if the 4 of them fought for an entire day, they would not be able to determine a victor. However, Tang Ao was determined to get this meteorite token, so Tang Ao came up with this method of passing off fish eyes as pearls. Moreover, the rune restriction on the falling star token could not be seen by weak soul remembrance. Thus, Tang Ao felt that as long as his imitation was slightly more similar, Blood Moon Scarlet and the other 3 would not be able to tell the difference. Although the grade of Tang Ao's crafting furnace was not high, the space inside was huge. Therefore, under the control of Tang Ao, the 100 pieces of meteorite tokens inside the crafting furnace had already begun to take shape. This step was the simplest. He just had to use his soul remembrance to control the flames in the crafting furnace to mold the token. However, this time, Tang Ao was simultaneously forging 100 pieces of tokens. Thus, the requirements for Tang Ao were extremely high. Fortunately, Tang Ao's soul remembrance was abnormally strong. Thus, even though he was simultaneously forging 100 pieces of tokens, Tang Ao's forging still proceeded in an orderly manner. As Tang Ao was secretly crafting artifacts in the forest, the battle between Shui Yuehong and the other 3 cultivators was still ongoing. Xiaoyu was very depressed because he felt that the other 3 people did not know what the Fallen Star token was used for. Fighting over the Fallen Star token at this time was truly crazy. However, no matter how much Xiaoyu complained, the other 3 people did not have any intention of giving up. Chapter 1392. Although the grade of these tokens was not high, Tang Ao's psyche was not as strong as before. Therefore, Tang Ao still chose to carve the inscription formation on 10 tokens together. Under the burning of the flame, Tang Ao took out the tokens with the inscription formation and placed them aside. Then, Tang Ao continued to carve the inscription formation on the next batch of tokens. After a joss stick's worth of time, Tang Ao had finished refining 100 meteorite tokens. After refining the meteorite tokens, Tang Ao did not leave the place immediately. Instead, he sat down cross-legged and quietly recovered the psyche he had just expended. Earlier, Tang Ao had used his sky pole pupil to examine the meteorite tokens. Therefore, Tang Ao could see that one of the runic formations within the meteorite token had a strong spatial fluctuation. Tang Ao felt that he would have to use the meteorite token if he wanted to leave this place. However, Tang Ao had only used his sky pole pupil to scan it and had not observed it in detail. Therefore, Tang Ao still did not know what secrets were hidden within the meteorite token. However, Tang Ao was sure that with Yun Xiaoyao's crafting heritage and his own sky pole pupil, as long as he could obtain a meteorite token, Tang Ao would be able to discover his secrets. After recuperating for a while, Tang Ao put away all 100 meteorite tokens and completely removed the formation he had set up. After making sure that no traces were left behind, Tang Ao quietly approached the place where Blood Moon Red and the other 3 were fighting. Tang Ao used his psyche to detect that Blood Moon Red and the other 3 were still engaged in an intense battle. However, as the battle continued, Shangwan Yi seemed to be tired. However, Tang Ao knew that Shangwan Yi's exhaustion was completely faked. It was just that his acting was too bad, so the other 3 did not believe him and did not hesitate in every attack. Naturally, the meteorite token kept changing hands among the 4. However, no matter who obtained it, the other 3 would definitely attack together. Their cultivation was about the same, so no one could overpower the other. Therefore, It was impossible for them to take the meteorite token away when they were attacked by the other three. After Wu Han snatched the meteorite token again, he immediately wanted to use Blood Escape to leave. However, before he could use Blood Escape, Blood Moon Red and the other two had already sealed off his escape route. Xiao Yu's fan had also sent the meteorite token flying out of Wu Han's hand. Good chance. When Tang Ao saw the meteor token flying towards him, he was secretly delighted. Then he took out a golden light bomb from his storage ring and threw it into the air. At the same time that Tang Ao threw out the golden light bombs, the 100 fallen star tokens that he had previously refined also flew over. Tang Ao took the opportunity to grab the meteorite token. After snatching the meteorite token, Tang Ao was overjoyed and hastily put the meteorite token into his storage ring. However, what surprised Tang Ao was that the meteorite token couldn't be put into his storage ring. Thinking of this, Tang Ao had a thought and opened up the Primal Chaos Hexlight mirror space. Promptly, Tang Ao threw the meteorite token in. Then, he ran in another direction. Chapter 1393. After Tang Ao took the Real Fallen Star token, Tang Ao retreated behind the crowd. Seeing Situ Qianqian at the back of the crowd, Tang Ao immediately walked over. Junior Qianqian, let's go to the subduing dragon market now. Tang Ao truly didn't expect to encounter a fallen star token on the road. This caused Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian to wake up early in the morning to rush to the market. Senior brother Tang Ao, that's what young Master Yin said he needed. Why don't we steal one and bring it back? Just now, Tang Ao had used the golden light bullet to throw out 100 tokens. Although there were many martial artists here, there weren't many who dared to steal the fallen star token. Moreover, after this unforeseen event, Xiao Yu was instantly enraged. Scram! Seeing the martial artists who were about to try and steal the fallen star token on the ground, Xiao Yu said coldly. However, under the influence of benefits, Xiao Yu's warning was clearly ignored. Just now, everyone had seen Xiao Yu and the other three fight over the fallen star token. Therefore, everyone guessed that this small token was definitely not ordinary. Now, for some reason, so many tokens had appeared. Moreover, under the soul remembrance scan, there was no difference from the previous token. Therefore, many people gathered their courage and prepared to steal some of the fallen star tokens. However, Xiao Yu was clearly extremely angry. Therefore, when a martial artist grabbed a fallen star token and was about to escape, Xiao Yu casually threw out a blade that pierced through the martial artist's back. Before this martial artist died, he was still in disbelief. He had struggled in the subduing dragon cave for so long, only to die like this. Although Xiao Yu had killed a person, it clearly didn't achieve the effect Xiao Yu wanted. At this moment, there were still martial artists continuously surging forward to steal the fallen star tokens on the ground. Scram! This time, it was Shui Weihong who spoke. In reality, Shui Weihong didn't know what this token was used for. However, she knew that the token that had just been stolen had once belonged to her mother. However, after seeing Tang Ao's image, Shui Weihong did not know which token was the real one. This was because when Shui Weihong's soul remembrance swept over these tokens, she shockingly discovered that the aura of these tokens was the same as the aura of the token they had fought over earlier. This meant that there might be real meteorite tokens mixed in with the pile of meteorite tokens below. It was also possible that all the meteorite tokens below were fake. However, after thinking about it for a while, they decided to ignore the authenticity of the Fallen Star tokens for now. Wu Han was the first to grab a Fallen Star token. Immediately, Wu Han wanted to place the Fallen Star token into his storage ring to test it out. When Wu Han realized that the token could not be stored in his storage ring, a look of joy appeared on his face. He immediately wanted to take the token and leave. However, out of curiosity, Wu Han picked up another meteorite token along the way. Wu Han tried to put the Fallen Star token into his storage ring again, but to no avail. Wu Han's expression changed. This was because this Fallen Star token also could not be stored in a storage ring. This meant that this method could no longer distinguish the real from the fake. In the crowd, Tang Ao saw everyone's changing expressions and was secretly amused. However, Tang Ao still patted Situ Qianqian, indicating that she should go to the subduing dragon market. Situ Qianqian nodded her head and didn't refuse. She had suggested fighting for a fallen star token just to let Tang Ao know. Since Tang Ao had decided not to fight for such a token, Situ Qianqian naturally had no other thoughts. Chapter 1394. Although they were still a distance away from the subduing dragon market, this time Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian did not continue riding horses. Tang Ao deeply felt that in the subduing dragon caves, he still needed a mighty and domineering demonic beast as a mount. An ordinary mount like the date red horse was not very practical in the subduing dragon caves. It could run around in Qingyan village for a while, but if it encountered a demonic beast outside, it would be frightened to the point that it would not dare to move. After an incense worth of time, Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian saw a huge stone pillar with the words subduing dragon market written on it. Behind the stone pillar was an abnormally bustling, subduing dragon market. Looking over, Tang Ao saw an endless stream of martial artists walking back and forth on the street. There were many shops on both sides of the street, and the shops were selling all sorts of things. Other than the shops, Tang Ao also saw some street stalls. Compared to the neatly arranged items in the shops, the things on the street stalls were slightly messy. Tang Ao looked around and found that these street stalls really had everything. Beast bones, spirit herbs, ores, pills, spirit artifact fragments, all sorts of strange things could be seen. Tang Ao was also prepared to buy some things, but before that, Tang Ao still had to sell all the pills that he refined last night. There were usually 3 ways to sell pills here. The first was to set up a stall and sell it yourself. The second was to sell to the pill pavilions, but this method was rarely used by martial artists. This was because 9 out of 10 pill pavilions here were black merchants. Unless they had no other choice, otherwise no martial artists or alchemists would be willing to sell pills to the pill pavilions. Alchemists were a little better, as they could sign an agreement with the pill pavilions and then refine pills for the pill pavilions in the long term. The price of the pills sold would also be slightly higher. But if ordinary martial artists sold pills, the price would be pushed down again and again by the pill pavilions. The third way was to sell pills through auctions. If your pills were precious enough, then auctions were definitely the best choice. However, there were 2 drawbacks to selling elixirs at the auction. The first drawback was that if it wasn't time for the auction, the elixirs could only be kept under wraps and couldn't be sold immediately. The second reason was that every auction house had a transaction tax of about 10%. Therefore, if the pill was not particularly precious and could be bought at a good price, it was definitely a wrong choice to send it to the auction house. Tang Ao was very confident in the quality of his pills. However, Tang Ao wanted to sell the pills now. Tang Ao had asked around and found out that the nearest auction was in 10 days. Tang Ao obviously did not have that much time. Since he couldn't go to the auction, he could only set up stalls in pill pavilions. Originally, Tang Ao was preparing to set up a stall. However, Tang Ao discovered that the majority of the martial artists who came to buy medicinal pills were willing to go to the pill pavilion to buy. Up till now, Tang Ao had not seen any of the stalls selling medicinal pills. Seeing this scene, Tang Ao could only helplessly smile bitterly. Although good wine needs no dark alley, Tang Ao really didn't have time to sell medicinal pills here today. If there was a need in the future, he could buy a shop here to sell medicinal pills. And, with this idea, an electric current suddenly flashed in Tang Ao's mind. Tang Ao was absolutely confident in his own alchemy ability. Therefore, there was no need to open a pill pavilion in the Crouching Dragon Market. He could directly open it in Qingyan Village. Although this idea was excellent, he still had to do some preparatory work. One of the most important preparatory work was to sell the 40 bottles of medicinal pills in his hands and then exchange for enough spirit herbs to go back and refine pills. Junior Sister Qianqian, I heard you say that out of 10 pill pavilions here, 9 are black. Junior Sister Qianqian, do you know which pill pavilion has a more fair price for purchasing medicinal pills? It was Tang Ao's first time coming to the Crouching Dragon Market, so he wasn't very familiar with it. Why don't we go to Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion? Sister Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion's sister Rosy Cloud and Sister Muyang are good friends. I used to follow Sister Muyang to Sister Rosy Cloud's shop to buy medicinal pills many times. After thinking for a while, Situ Qianqian recommended Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion to Tang Ao. Chapter 1395. In the Dragon's Subduing Market, the Rosy Cloud Pill House's location was not the best, but it was definitely relatively good. The Rosy Cloud Pill House occupied a large area, and there was an endless stream of people around. If it was to sell medicinal pills, this location happened to be very suitable. Moreover, Tang Ao noticed that the Rosy Cloud Pill House's facade was very big and very imposing. Such a large pill house, the medicinal pills and spirit grass reserves would also be very abundant. When Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian came to the front of the Rosy Cloud Pill House's shop, they could still see martial artists coming in and out of the Rosy Cloud Pill House's shop door. Obviously, these martial artists came to the Rosy Cloud Pill House to buy or sell medicinal pills. After Tang Ao walked into the Rosy Cloud Pill House's door with Situ Qianqian, they saw a very conspicuous sign. This wooden sign wrote that the first floor was to buy medicinal pills and spirit grass. The second floor was to sell medicinal pills and spirit grass, and the third floor was to order medicinal pills. These three simple sentences undoubtedly revealed the strength of the Rosy Cloud Pill House. These three sentences reflected that the Rosy Cloud Pill House could meet all the needs of most martial artists for medicinal pills. Whether you needed to buy medicinal pills, sell medicinal pills, or even refine special medicinal pills, the Rosy Cloud Pill House could serve you. Senior apprentice brother Tang Ao, big sister Muyang, and big sister Kaiyun are good friends, so big sister Muyang can find big sister Kaiyun directly every time she comes. But we don't know big sister Kaiyun, so we can only go to the second floor to sell medicinal pills step by step. Previously, when Situ Qianqian followed Muyang to the Rosy Cloud Pill House, Muyang found Xia Kaiyun to trade directly. But now that Tang Ao and she did not know Xia Kaiyun, naturally, they could only trade through normal channels. This was not because Situ Qianqian had no confidence in the medicinal pills refined by Tang Ao, but because there were too many martial artists who came to the Rosy Cloud Pill House to trade medicinal pills every day. If there were no acquaintances, just lining up would take a long time. And now Tang Ao was obviously pressed for time, so he was not willing to set up a stall to sell medicinal pills, but directly came to the Rosy Cloud Pill House to sell medicinal pills. This time, Tang Ao came to the Rosy Cloud Pill House to sell medicinal pills and then buy spirit grass. Therefore, Tang Ao followed the instructions on the wooden sign and walked up to the second floor. The area of the Rosy Cloud Pellet Pavilion was very wide. After Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian walked up to the second floor, Tang Ao discovered that this place was not like a one-story building at all, but more like a small plaza. On the second floor of the Rosy Cloud Pill House, there were 5 windows on the 4 sides of the north, south, east, and west. These 20 windows were responsible for appraising medicinal pills for martial artists and purchasing medicinal pills. Although 20 windows were not a small number, at this moment, there was a long queue in front of every window. Among them, there were 2 middle-aged alchemists who were in charge of the windows with the most number of cultivators. However, the window with the young female alchemist had the least number of people. The number of people at the other windows was more or less the same. There weren't too many or too few people. Tang Ao looked around and asked Situ Qianqian, "Junior sister Qianqian, is big sister Kaiyun here?" Tang Ao did not know that Kaiyun was the daughter of the Rosy Cloud Pill House's pavilion master, so Tang Ao asked this. Although the name Kaiyun was the same as the Rosy Cloud Pill House, alchemist Tang Ao still did not think about this place. Situ Qianqian shook her head. "Senior apprentice brother Tang Ao, we can't see big sister Kaiyun. She rarely appears here, and only big sister Muyang has a way to find her." Chapter 1396. Do the two of you have an appointment with an alchemist? While Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian were talking, a waiter walked in front of Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian. He smiled at Tang Ao and asked this question. Hearing this question, Tang Ao was a bit speechless. He was a grade 6 spirit alchemist, but he had to make an appointment with an alchemist just to refine a few grade 1 spirit pills. Even so, Tang Ao didn't act rashly. As the saying goes, people have to lower their heads when they're under someone else's roof. Right now, Tang Ao had a favor to ask, so Tang Ao still said seriously, "This is my first time selling pills here, so I didn't know that I needed to make an appointment to sell pills here." After Tang Ao finished speaking, the waiter waved his hand. "Since this is your first time here, I'll tell you something. The appointment with an alchemist is made after you come here. Every alchemist has a different price, so it depends on which alchemist you want to make an appointment with." Hearing the attendant's words, Tang Ao felt sad in his heart. Although Tang Ao also admitted that in the depths of the dragon-subduing cave, the competition between the cultivators was too intense. Therefore, it didn't matter if there were a few more rules in the Elixir Pavilion. However, the rules of the Rosy Cloud Elixir Pavilion gave Tang Ao a headache. This was because the Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion was frequented by Mu Yang. This meant that the Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion was very good compared to other pill pavilions. Thinking about this, Tang Ao found it hard to imagine how dark the other pill pavilions were. What's the price for an appointment with an alchemist? Tang Ao casually pointed at an alchemist and asked. There were plenty of cultivators waiting in line for this alchemist to appraise their pills. Among these alchemists, this was one of the more normal ones. Perhaps because it was Tang Ao's first time here, the waiter patiently said, "Alchemist Wang, and these alchemist appointment is 20 silver coins. Alchemist Liu and Alchemist Zhao's appointment is 200 silver coins, and Alchemist Han's appointment is 10 silver coins." While the waiter was explaining to Tang Ao, he pointed at the corresponding alchemist. Therefore, Tang Ao knew that the alchemist he was asking about was Alchemist Wang. As for the two alchemists with the longest lines, they were Alchemist Liu and Alchemist Zhao. As for that young female alchemist, she was the Alchemist Han that the attendant had mentioned. Just as Tang Ao was hesitating about which alchemist to appraise his pills, there were a few more people coming up to the second floor. Seeing this scene, Tang Ao hurriedly threw 20 silver coins to the attendant and said, "I want Alchemist Wang's reservation certificate." After receiving the 20 silver coins from Tang Ao, the attendant was somewhat startled. Of course, this wasn't because Tang Ao had given too much. On the contrary, it was because Tang Ao had given too little. Although the fee for an appointment was 20 silver coins, the more he gave, the higher the number would be. The less he gave, the lower the number would be. However, this time, the waiter couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with Tang Ao. He took out a small jade token from his storage ring and threw it to Tang Ao before turning to leave. Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion was one of the top 3 pill pavilions in the entire dragon-subduing caves. Therefore, there were many cultivators who came here to buy pills and sell pills every day. Many of these people were here for the first time. However, this waiter had been here for a long time, but he had never seen someone as clueless as Tang Ao. Chapter 1397. Tang Ao noticed everyone's gazes, but Tang Ao truly didn't understand what was going on. Just as Tang Ao was thinking, the people who had just come from the staircase also arrived in front of the attendant. After a simple exchange, they bought a reservation from the attendant. However, what Tang Ao didn't expect was that one of the people who bought the reservation was also this pill Master Wang's. However, when he gave the attendant the silver coins, Tang Ao clearly saw that this martial artist grabbed 50 silver coins and gave it to the attendant. The attendant held the heavy 50 silver coins in his purse and was naturally in an exceptionally good mood. Thus, the attendant very straightforwardly took out a reservation from his storage ring and gave it to this martial artist. This reservation was exactly the same as the one in Tang Ao's hand, but the words on it were different. Tang Ao scanned it with his sole remembrance and found that something was wrong. This martial artist reservation number was very, very near the front. Subsequently, Tang Ao's soul remembrance scanned the front of the line, and Tang Ao found that everyone's number plates weren't connected. This way, who knew how many more people could be inserted in the middle? Seeing this, Tang Ao couldn't help but want to roar. However, thinking of his current body refinement realm, 5th level cultivation, Tang Ao really didn't have the confidence to cause trouble here. Although on the surface, this second floor of the Pill Pavilion only had this body refinement realm 6th level attendant maintaining order, when Tang Ao used his soul remembrance to investigate, he shockingly discovered that there were 2 body refinement realm 9th level elders overseeing the north and south sides of the Pill Pavilion. It seemed that the Pill Pavilion daring to be so shady wasn't completely without reason. Indeed, after the martial artist took the reservation, he walked straight to the front of the line. At this moment, there were 30 or so martial artists in front of Tang Ao. When they saw this person walk forward, they didn't stop him. Clearly, this reservation method was tacitly accepted by everyone. Although Tang Ao still had a lot of silver coins on him, seeing this situation still made Tang Ao angry. It seemed that in this hidden dragon cave, there really wasn't any fairness to speak of. Even though fairness did not exist in the world of cultivators, this kind of thing happened even when he was selling pills. But in the hidden dragon crypt, the survival of the fittest was displayed to the extreme. Tang Ao didn't say much and retreated from the group. Then, he walked to the window of the female alchemist with the surname Han. When he saw that Tang Ao did not look for him to exchange his number plate with him, but instead took the initiative to change the alchemist, a cold glint flashed in the eyes of the attendant in charge of issuing the number plates. Although it was just a flash, Tang Ao's soul remembrance was so powerful that Tang Ao naturally caught the chill in the attendant's eyes. At this point, Tang Ao completely did not have a good impression of the Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion. Perhaps that Xia Kaiyun in situ Qianqian's mouth was a good person, but the entire Rosy Cloud Elixir Pavilion's atmosphere was clearly somewhat filthy. However, Tang Ao still didn't leave. Instead, he walked straight to the window of the female alchemist with the surname Han. Seeing Tang Ao walk over, the pretty woman at the window faintly smiled at Tang Ao and simultaneously used soul remembrance to transmit to Tang Ao. Friend, if you want to change alchemists, you need to go to Attendant Liu to exchange a reservation token. You've offended Attendant Liu, so he will make things difficult for you in the Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion. While communicating with Tang Ao via soul remembrance, Han Shui was still focused on examining the pills in her hands. It was as if she wasn't even talking to Tang Ao. Chapter 1398. My name is Han Shui. After hearing Tang Ao introduce himself, Han Shui also replied. However, Han Shui didn't say much. Although Han Shui was slightly older than Situ Qianqian, she was still a shy girl. After saying her name, the previously calm face of her pretty face became a little drunk. At this moment, Tang Ao no longer had the intention to stay here. Therefore, Tang Ao crossed the crowd and arrived in front of Han Shui, handing a bottle of pills to her. This was a bottle of 3-star antidote pills. Although it was only a 3-star pill, it was the best among 3-star pills. It was just that there was a restriction covering it, so Han Shui didn't know what pill it was. After Tang Ao left the bottle of pills, he immediately left. When he walked to Attendant Liu's side, Tang Ao threw the reservation certificate in his hand to him and then waved at Situ Qianqian. Junior sister Qianqian, let's go. Although Tang Ao felt that selling pills was too time-consuming, since the elixir dispensary was so shady, Tang Ao decided to set up his own stall to sell pills and buy medicinal ingredients. At the same time, Tang Ao was prepared to concoct pills on the streets. This was also good for promoting his concoction at Qingyun village in 3 days. Thinking of this, Tang Ao felt that he should have done this before and not come to the Rosy Cloud Elixir Dispensary to look for trouble. But what Tang Ao didn't expect was that when he and Situ Qianqian left the Rosy Cloud Elixir Dispensary, they were stopped by 2 martial artists. These 2 were at the 7th level of the body refining realm. Tang Ao hadn't seen them before, but Tang Ao knew that these two were indeed looking for him. This was because one of them was holding a crystal ball in his hand. The crystal ball happened to have the image of him on the second level of the Rosy Cloud elixir dispensary. The brat from the Hidden Dragon Cave is getting more and more arrogant. A fifth-level brat dares to challenge Attendant Liu. One of them looked at Tang Ao helplessly. You can't say that. If it weren't for these troublemakers, how could our brothers have gotten so many benefits from Liu? Another warrior said as he looked at Tang Ao. The flow of people in this area was not small. When everyone saw Mad Dragon and Evil Tiger stop Tang Ao, they immediately realized that there was going to be a good show to watch. No one here knew who Tang Ao was, but almost everyone knew who Mad Dragon and Vicious Tiger were, because these two fellows basically didn't do any proper business. They caused trouble in the dragon, subduing market all day long. However, the two of them wouldn't cause trouble for no reason. Basically, every time they made a move, it was for the other party's money. Moreover, the subduing dragon market did not forbid martial artists from fighting. As long as one did not anger those who could not be offended, no one would care even if one fought until the sky turned dark. Kid, you're called Tang Ao, right? Liu Yi said that as long as he broke one of your hands, this matter would be settled. Do you want to chop off one of your arms yourself? Or do you want us brothers to help you? Ha ha ha. Mad Dragon laughed after he finished speaking. Vicious Tiger, who was at the side, looked at Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian with unfriendly eyes. At this time, there were more and more people around, but no one stopped them. In the dragon-subduing dragon cave, no matter where, fighting was a very common thing. If it was a peaceful scene everywhere, it would really be a little strange. Hence, although everyone surrounded them, no one was here to uphold justice. They were all here to watch the show. Chapter 1399. Towards this Wen Yao, Tang Ao was extremely disgusted. However, Tang Ao couldn't help but admit that this woman was really charming. It was as if one could not bear to look away from her. Her pretty face had a delicate and pitiful look, and she looked a little haggard and pitiful. Her figure was exquisite and graceful, and every frown had its own charm. She was truly a stunner. Is it not good to be alive? Faced with Kuang Long's impolite words, Tang Ao's reply was very calm. Calm, but strange. Or was it not good? This sentence wasn't strange at all. It was just a common thread. But at this moment, when Tang Ao, a fifth-tier body refining realm martial artist, said it to the seventh-tier body refining realm Kuang Long and Evil Tiger, this sentence was very strange. Kid, I think you are tired of living. Kuang Long had beaten up many people in the subduing dragon market. Hence, Kuang Long naturally knew that there were some people who would not shed tears until they saw the coffin. This Tang Ao in front of him was clearly one of them. Since that was the case, then he could only let Tang Ao see the coffin. Kuang Long looked rough, but Tang Ao did not expect this burly man to use a swift sword. This sword was no different from an ordinary swift sword. They were all 3 feet long. A man who was almost 6 meters tall, like an iron tower, actually used a swift sword. It looked very comical. With his physique, even if he used a heavy sword, he would still be able to do it with ease. However, he had chosen to use such an ordinary and fast sword. Although Kuang Long's swift sword looked uncoordinated, Tang Ao did not dare to be careless. This was because the moment Kuang Long held his sword, Tang Ao could feel Kuang Long's entire aura change. There was a cold, killing intent hidden in his body. This was a feeling that a newbie who used a sword would definitely not have. Hence, a martial artist who could give off such a feeling after holding a sword was usually not that weak. Junior sister Qianqian, step back. I'll exchange a few moves with him. Although Tang Ao was only at the peak of the 5th level of the body refining realm, Mad Dragon was at the peak of the 7th level of the body refining realm. He was 2 levels higher than Tang Ao. Even so, Tang Ao did not show any signs of fear. If it weren't for the fact that his soul sea and sea of wisdom had been shattered, Tang Ao was fully confident that he could instantly kill off Mad Dragon. Unfortunately, Not only was Tang Ao's sea of consciousness and soul almost completely shattered, Tang Ao's cultivation was also not on par with Kuang Long's. Hence, Tang Ao could only dream about instantly killing Mad Dragon. At least, the current Tang Ao would never be able to do it. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, a silver light flickered in Tang Ao's hand. Immediately, the 100-battle spear soul was released by Tang Ao. Is this your choice? What a stupid choice. Seeing the 100-battle spear soul in Tang Ao's hand, the long sword in Kuang Long's hand roared and suddenly stabbed towards Tang Ao. The long sword whistled, and the cold wind was bone-chilling. Kuang Long's killing intent also exploded at this moment. That monstrous killing intent made people involuntarily retreat. Those with weaker cultivation or a weaker will would probably lose their fighting spirit under this murderous aura. Chapter 1400. How rich was Tang Ao's battle experience? Therefore, Tang Ao could naturally tell that Kuang Long's shocking attack was actually a feint. Therefore, under Tang Ao's full strength, Kuang Long would not dare, nor would he be willing, to exchange blows with a fifth-tier body, refining realm warrior. Therefore, when Tang Ao's long spear swept over, Kuang Long gritted his teeth and actually took a step back. This scene was out of everyone's expectations. Not everyone was like Tang Ao, able to tell that Kuang Long's attack was just a feint. Therefore, when they saw Kuang Long being forced back by Tang Ao with a single move, everyone was shocked. Kuang Long's battle results in the subduing dragon market were obvious to all. As long as Kuang Long attacked, it was basically in the bag. This time, Kuang Long was facing Tang Ao, whose cultivation level was 2 tiers lower than his. There was no suspense in such a battle. Everyone was still wondering how long Tang Ao could last against Kuang Long, but Kuang Long had actually been forced back by Tang Ao. This puzzled everyone. Could it be that Tang Ao was hiding his cultivation level? Or was it that Tang Ao's life soul was extraordinary? What kind of extraordinary life soul was it? But when everyone looked closely, they realized that although Tang Ao's life soul was special, it was only a 9th-tier life soul. As for Tang Ao's cultivation level, it had not changed at all at the 5th tier of the body, refining realm. Therefore, everyone could only watch this battle with puzzlement. In the battle, after Tang Ao forced Kuang Long back with a surprise attack, Tang Ao did not give Kuang Long a chance to catch his breath. The long spear in his hand danced like a dragon snake, sweeping through the sky. Tang Ao's series of attacks forced Kuang Long to defend passively. He had no chance to attack at all. This made Kuang Long very depressed. Kuang Long felt like his lungs were about to explode. When dealing with a 5th-tier body, refining realm martial artist like Tang Ao, Mad Dragon was actually being suppressed by the other party. If word of this got out, Mad Dragon, would really not be able to survive in the subduing dragon market anymore. However, although Mad Dragon wanted to turn the tide, Tang Ao didn't give him the chance to do so. This caused Mad Dragon's expression to turn increasingly ugly. Not long after, his face turned the color of a pig's liver. However, Tang Ao still had no intention of holding back. At this moment, the 100-battle spear soul in Tang Ao's hands was as flexible as a finger. In addition to the support of Tang Ao's thick essence energy, the 100-battle spear soul had also become abnormally sharp. Even though the Mad Dragon kept dodging, the 100-battle soul spear still managed to leave quite a few wounds on its body. The surrounding crowd was already stunned. At this moment, there was only one thought in many people's minds. Was this really a martial artist at the 5th level of the body, refining realm? Looks like people who dare to stir up trouble in the subduing dragon market all have some capabilities. Although this Tang Ao's cultivation level is average, his martial techniques and life soul usage are very skilled. His combat experience is also completely not inferior to Mad Dragon. Hence, after Mad Dragon lost the upper hand, he has been suppressed by Tang Ao. I didn't think that Mad Dragon would stumble again this time. Meeting Ho Tianxi the last time was enough to pin up his anger. But that Ho Tianxi was at least a 6-tier body refining realm martial artist. Compared to him, Mad Dragon, he was just one level lower in cultivation. But now this Tang Ao is only at the 5th level of the body refining realm. If he loses to Tang Ao, this Mad Dragon will probably have no face to survive in the subduing dragon market anymore. Chapter 1401. Roar. Mad Dragon felt like he was about to die from being suppressed by Tang Ao all this time. Hence, Mad Dragon roared and prepared to take Tang Ao's attack head-on. At the same time, he would withstand Tang Ao's attack and kill Tang Ao on the spot. Hence, when Tang Ao thrust his spear forward like a dragon, Mad Dragon abruptly withdrew his body to avoid being hit in the vitals. At the same time, the 3-foot-long Qing Feng sword in his hand slashed at Tang Ao's neck like a gale, sweeping away fallen leaves. This attack was powerful and heavy. Not to mention the neck, even an iron rod would be chopped in half by the berserk dragon. Naturally, Tang Ao could also see the intention of Mad Dragon's move. Mad Dragon was ready to fight back. Moreover, Mad Dragon did not show any mercy to himself, even though he hated others. If Mad Dragon were to take this attack head-on, a few of his ribs would definitely be broken. However, Tang Ao had to admit that Mad Dragon had grasped the perfect timing this time. This was because at the same time that Tang Ao broke Mad Dragon's ribs, Mad Dragon's swift sword was probably already at his neck. According to Mad Dragon's thinking, Tang Ao would definitely not dare to take this attack head-on. Hence, even if he could not kill Tang Ao, he could still turn the situation around. However, Mad Dragon soon realized that he was overthinking. This was because before his swift sword could get close to Tang Ao, 4 pitch-black chains suddenly appeared in the void. These 4 chains had a strong aura of the netherworld, as if they came from hell. Moreover, the moment the 4 chains appeared, they happened to trap Mad Dragon's swift sword. Following that, Tang Ao's 100 battles spear soul pierced through Mad Dragon's lower abdomen. Tang Ao's arm shook, and the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Seeing that Mad Dragon was injured, Evil Tiger immediately took out a pair of mace and smashed it at Tang Ao. Although Tang Ao had been suppressing Mad Dragon in the battle earlier, such a fast-paced battle had also consumed a lot of Tang Ao's energy. Therefore, when Evil Tiger came to help, Tang Ao could only sigh in his heart. The Hunter Battle Spear Soul was still somewhat weak. Although Tang Ao's attack had managed to heavily injure Mad Dragon had managed to avoid a fatal blow. Thus, Tang Ao had failed to kill Mad Dragon. He had only managed to heavily injure Mad Dragon. Due to Vicious Tiger's timely rescue, Tang Ao did not have the opportunity to stab him. Tang Ao suddenly pulled out the 100 Battle Spear Soul that was pierced into Mad Dragon's body, and then stabbed it at Evil Tiger's mace, blocking Evil Tiger's mace. After blocking Vicious Tiger's attack, Tang Ao did not continue fighting with Vicious Tiger. Instead, he abruptly retreated, putting some distance between him and Vicious Tiger. Vicious Tiger didn't dare to chase after Tang Ao because Quang Long's aura was extremely weak and he was spitting out mouthfuls of blood. Although Tang Ao's spear had not taken Quang Long's life, Quang Long's injuries were not light. If he did not find a place to treat Quang Long's injuries, Quang Long would most likely die here today. Oomph. Kid, the mountains never change, and the rivers never stop flowing. This time, we brothers admit defeat. Next time, wash your neck clean and wait for us brothers to send you on your way. After saying this, Vicious Tiger did not dare to stay any longer. He picked up Quang Long and ran away. Of course, the reason why Vicious Tiger ran away was not because he was afraid of Tang Ao. Just now, Tang Ao and Quang Long fought. In the end, because Quang Long was careless, Quang Long was seriously injured by Tang Ao. Even so, Tang Ao must have consumed a lot of energy. Therefore, if Vicious Tiger stayed and fought with Tang Ao now, Vicious Tiger was 80% sure that he could kill Tang Ao here. However, Vicious Tiger did not have the guts to do so. Usually, he and Quang Long were used to being arrogant here. God, knows how many people they had offended. Now that Kuang Long was seriously injured, who knew how many people were thinking about the two of them? Therefore, Vicious Tiger immediately left with Kuang Long after leaving behind some ruthless words. As for Tang Ao, as long as Kuang Long recovered from his injuries, he could kill him at any time. The next time he met Tang Ao, Vicious Tiger would not fight with Tang Ao one-on-one. Instead, the two of them would join forces and quickly kill Tang Ao. When Vicious Tiger left with Kuang Long, there were indeed several martial artists following them in the dark. Chapter 1402. In the Hidden Dragon Crypts, martial artists often faced life and death decisions. Therefore, the martial artists in the Hidden Dragon Crypts were stronger than the martial artists in other places. Because in the Hidden Dragon Crypts, there could be a battle at any time, so their martial skills were more skilled, their primordial chi was more vigorous, and their life souls were more flexible. And the higher the cultivation, the more obvious the gap. Therefore, outside the Hidden Dragon Crypts, there were many cases of low-level martial artists killing high-level martial artists. But in the Hidden Dragon Crypts, this kind of thing happened very rarely. Because those martial artists who passed themselves off as pearls had long been eliminated in the process of growth. Only those martial artists who had true perseverance and perseverance could continue to climb up. Simply put, there were very few martial artists in the Hidden Dragon Crypts who used elixirs to increase their cultivation. Although Tang Ao was also very dependent on the essence cultivating elixir for cultivation, whether it was in his previous life or this life, Tang Ao had walked very far on the martial path. Therefore, when Tang Ao used the essence cultivating elixir to increase his martial path cultivation, there would not be the problem of his realm being unstable. This was because Tang Ao's current cultivation had fallen so much, because his spiritual Ci and soul Ci were shattered, and Tang Ao's original realm had long surpassed the level of the Flying Star Continent. At the entrance of the Rosy Cloud Elixir Pavilion, Tang Ao and Kuang Long had already left, but there were still martial artists who came here from time to time to talk about the battle between Tang Ao and Kuang Long not long ago. While everyone was talking about the battle between Tang Ao and Kuang Long, a rhythmic and brisk sound of horse hooves could be heard. In mortal countries, horses were the most commonly used and the most common means of transportation. But at the level of martial artists, the mounts were basically demon beasts. Now, although everyone heard the sound of horse hooves, when they turned their heads to look, what they saw was not a horse, or rather, not an ordinary horse. Although Tang Ao had disappeared in front of everyone just now, Tang Ao did not leave this place. After taking Situ Qianqian in a circle, Tang Ao returned here again. Because Tang Ao still hadn't found a suitable place to set up a stall, in Tang Ao's opinion, the front of the Rosy Cloud Pill House was very good. But the Rosy Cloud Elixir Pavilion's hospitality, Tang Ao had already experienced it just now. Therefore, Tang Ao knew that if he dared to sell medicinal pills in front of the Rosy Cloud Pellet House, the people who came looking for him wouldn't be the likes of Mad Dragon and Vicious Tiger. Perhaps in the eyes of ordinary people, or even those low-level martial artists, Mad Dragon was already powerful enough. But in the entire Hidden Dragon Crypt, if the strongest martial artist were to be ranked, a small character like Mad Dragon would not even be able to enter the top 100. Although Tang Ao had defeated Mad Dragon, it did not prove that Tang Ao was much stronger than Tang Ao. This was because Mad Dragon's defeat at the hands of Tang Ao could also be said to be a coincidence. Of course, if Tang Ao used all his means, instantly killing Mad Dragon was still not a problem. But this was also because Tang Ao himself was a life and death realm martial artist. Although Tang Ao's current strength was less than 1/100th of his peak, if he used all his means to deal with a body refinement realm martial artist, it would be somewhat unfair for Tang Ao to win. But if it really came to that, Tang Ao naturally would not hesitate either. There had never been ifs in the world of martial artists, only consequences and results. Just like when dealing with the gray-furred monster not long ago, Tang Ao used the Netherworld Sword Chi without the slightest hesitation. Chapter 1403. Senior Tang Ao, this carriage is really pretty. Beside Tang Ao, Situ Qianqian praised. Girls all like pretty things. Situ Qianqian's age wasn't an exception. Moreover, from Tang Ao's point of view, this carriage wasn't bad. In front of the carriage were two demonic beasts that even Tang Ao couldn't recognize. They were all 9-star demonic beasts. The so-called 9-star demonic beasts were equivalent to 9th-level body refining realm martial artists. However, these two demonic beasts were used by the carriage's owner to pull the carriage. From this, one could see that the owner's identity wasn't normal. Moreover, these two horses weren't just strong, they were also very handsome. As for the carriage's body, it was made of a very special material. Tang Ao hadn't seen this material before. It looked like wood, but its texture was like jade. It was very special. Most importantly, under Tang Ao's soul remembrance, Tang Ao discovered that the surrounding energy was being attracted by this material and was constantly flowing into the carriage. Tang Ao roughly estimated that the density of the energy in the carriage was probably 10 times that of the outside world. Moreover, Tang Ao discovered a soul remembrance restriction on the carriage. In other words, normal martial artists couldn't use soul remembrance to know the situation in the carriage. Although Tang Ao's soul remembrance could penetrate the carriage, Tang Ao didn't do so because Tang Ao's soul remembrance was still a bit weak. If he forcefully penetrated the restriction, he would be able to see the situation in the carriage, but the people in the carriage would also discover Tang Ao's existence. Moreover, the carriage had already stopped. If there were people in the carriage, they should be getting off by now. Indeed, just as Tang Ao had this thought, the carriage's curtain opened and a 15 or 16-year-old girl peeked her head out and waved at the surrounding guards. These two guards were martial artists at the 9th level of the body refining realm. When they saw the maidservant waving at them, they walked over. Although they were very far away, with Tang Ao's powerful soul remembrance, he could still hear what they were saying. Tang Ao heard the little girl say that the young miss was still sleeping. So he let the two martial artists drive the beast carriage in from the back door of the Rosy Cloud Pill House. One of the martial artists felt that there was no problem, but the other didn't say anything. After hearing the conversation between the three, Tang Ao felt a little strange. It was definitely not early now, but why was the lady in the car still sleeping so early? Furthermore, normally, warriors did not need to sleep. As long as they sat cross-legged and regulated their breathing, they would be able to recover their essence, qi, and spirit. The lady in the car was still sleeping. Could she be an ordinary person? Tang Ao suddenly thought of such a possibility, because if it was an ordinary person, it was not unusual for them to sleep until now. However, Tang Ao found it a bit strange. On the Flying Star continent, the status of ordinary people was extremely low. It was even more so in the Hidden Dragon Crypt, where the law of the jungle was utilized to the extreme. Since this was the case, how could this young miss have such a gorgeous carriage? One had to know that the two horses pulling the carriage were 9-star demon beasts, and the two martial artists driving the carriage were 9th-level body, refining realm experts. This kind of treatment was not something an ordinary person could enjoy. Seeing the curtain open, Tang Ao couldn't resist his curiosity and sent his soul remembrance in. Chapter 1404. When Tang Ao was using his soul remembrance to search the beast carriage, the beautiful woman resting in the carriage suddenly woke up. Just now, in her dream, she had clearly felt a very obscure soul remembrance wandering around the carriage. But now that she was searching, that soul remembrance had disappeared, as if it had never existed. Although Shinluoli didn't discover the existence of Tang Ao's soul remembrance, Shinluoli was sure that a martial artist had used soul remembrance to spy on her. Shinluoli was currently only at the 7th level of the body refinement realm. This kind of cultivation wasn't considered strong in the entire Flying Star continent or even in the Hidden Dragon Cave. However, Shinluoli had a special talent that no one else had. Shinluoli's perception of soul remembrance was extremely sensitive. Shun Luoli suddenly waking up made Tang Ao a bit surprised. Then, seeing Shun Luoli use soul remembrance to search the surroundings, Tang Ao was extremely surprised. Clearly, Shun Luoli hadn't woken up for no reason. She had probably felt his soul remembrance. However, Tang Ao's soul remembrance was extremely powerful. Even though Tang Ao's cultivation was slightly weaker than Shun Luoli's, it wasn't that easy to be discovered. For example, the two 9th level body refinement realm martial artists guarding the side of the carriage didn't detect Tang Ao's soul remembrance. There was also the young servant girl at the door of the carriage who also didn't detect the existence of Tang Ao's soul remembrance. Shun Luoli checked the surroundings and found that she couldn't sense Tang Ao's soul remembrance. She curled her lips and walked out of the carriage. The instant Shun Luoli walked out of the carriage, everyone's eyes instantly focused on Shun Luoli and couldn't move away. Shun Luoli wore a light gold long dress. Her features were picturesque, and her long black hair fell over her shoulders. Her long black hair was tied up in a bun, and there was an exquisite jade hairpin in her hair. Not everyone was like Tang Ao and had a high resistance to beautiful women. Therefore, many martial artists were speechless the moment they saw Shun Luoli. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, many people wouldn't have believed that such a beautiful woman existed in this world. Shun Luoli was already used to being surrounded by people. Every time she went, she would become the center of attention. This sister is so beautiful. Beside Tang Ao, Situ Qianqian couldn't help but exclaim after seeing Shun Luoli. Tang Ao nodded his head. Among the many beauties that Tang Ao had seen, there were quite a few who were beautiful and had a transcendent temperament. However, Tang Ao hadn't seen many people like Shun Luoli who had such a combination of appearance and temperament. Is she Xia Kaiyan? Although Situ Qianqian's tone, Situ Qianqian didn't know this woman. Situ Qianqian didn't know. She's not Big Sister Kaiyan. I don't know who she is either. Situ Qianqian shook her head. She grew up in the dragon's subduing caves. If there was such a great beauty in the dragon's subduing caves, there was no reason for her not to know. Situ Qianqian shook her head. She grew up in the hidden dragon cave. If there was such a beauty in the hidden dragon cave, there was no reason she wouldn't know her. As Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian were talking, a group of people walked out of the Rosy Cloud Pill House. The leader of this group was a very beautiful young woman. However, under Shun Luoli's radiance, this young woman's beauty was overshadowed. After seeing this young woman, Situ Qianqian immediately said to Tang Ao, Senior Tang Ao, this is Sister Kaiyan. If we go talk to her about the pill, there won't be any problems. Chapter 1405. Without continuing to stay outside the Rosy Cloud Pill House, Tang Ao brought Situ Qianqian to a street in the middle of the market. Tang Ao had never been to the Crouching Dragon Market before, but this didn't affect Tang Ao's search for a suitable place to sell pills. With Tang Ao's powerful soul remembrance, everything around him was clearly seen by Tang Ao. Therefore, Tang Ao quickly brought Situ Qianqian to an empty space. This empty space was extremely spacious. It seemed to be an abandoned plaza. In the surroundings, there were a few fighters selling items. Due to the special location of this place, there was a lot of human traffic. Therefore, business seemed to be doing well. However, as the saying goes, there are always accidents. Therefore, many fighter stalls are filled with people, but there were a few stalls that no one paid any attention to. Moreover, what made Tang Ao speechless was that these stalls, without exception, were all selling pills. Tang Ao didn't know if it was because the roadside stalls in the Crouching Dragon Market often had fake elixirs that people would rather pay a high price to buy elixirs from the pill house than buy these economical and affordable elixirs from the roadside. Senior Tang Ao, are we really going to sell pills here? Situ Qianqian clearly saw that pills weren't very popular here. After Situ Qianqian followed Tang Ao here, Situ Qianqian hadn't seen any of the stalls selling pills. Instead, some spirit artifacts were very popular. As long as the price wasn't too terrifying, it was easy to sell. There were also some spirit materials and spirit grasses that were easy to sell. However, no one was interested in pills. Situ Qianqian couldn't understand the reason. Let's do it here. Tang Ao nodded and brought Situ Qianqian to a corner of the abandoned plaza. Beside Tang Ao, there were two other cultivators selling things. The two of them had a variety of things on their stalls. There were some old spirit artifacts, some strange-looking stones, and a lot of different spirit grasses and several ancient books. Tang Ao used a dust removal technique on the empty space between the two of them, sweeping away the dust on the ground. Tang Ao then took out all the pills from his storage ring and laid them out neatly. At the same time, Tang Ao took out an iron plate. Tang Ao spat out sword energy from his fingertips and started carving on the iron plate. The words that Tang Ao had written on the iron plate were very simple. Refining elixirs under 6 stars for sale. Tang Ao had previously thought of building a pill pavilion in Qingyun Village. However, the flow of people in Qingyun Village was obviously incomparable to the Crouching Dragon Market, so Tang Ao wanted to make a name for himself here. This way, when he concocted elixirs in Qingyun Village in the future, people would come to ask for elixirs. Now that someone had come to ask for pills, Tang Ao naturally did not have to worry about cultivation resources. When they saw that Tang Ao was also setting up a stall here, the martial artists on both sides of Tang Ao looked at Tang Ao. When they saw that Tang Ao was only selling elixirs, they shook their heads. In the subduing dragon market, almost all 10 bottles of pills sold at the stalls had problems. Because of this, it was hard to sell the elixirs in the Crouching Dragon Market. If Tang Ao was only here to sell elixirs, the two of them felt that Tang Ao was just wasting his time here. After setting up the stall, Tang Ao and Situ Qianqian waited quietly for customers to come over. However, what Tang Ao did not expect was that even though there were people coming and going, many people turned to look at his elixirs. However, after such a long time, there was not even a single martial artist who came up to ask about his elixirs. On the other hand, the two stalls beside Tang Ao still managed to sell a few small items, which made Tang Ao suffer a huge blow. Chapter 1406. Tang Ao shook his head. Tang Ao knew that Situ Qianqian was too naive. If Tang Ao didn't guess wrongly, it must be because there were too many fakes in the dragon submission market, so no one came to buy pills. Just as Tang Ao was pondering, a young man and woman walked over. When the two saw that Tang Ao's stall was full of pills, they looked at Tang Ao strangely. The pills sold at the stalls in the subduing dragon market were basically all problematic. Therefore, most of the martial artists who set up stalls sold all sorts of things, try to pass off the pills as genuine ones. But for Tang Ao to actually sell pills like this, it was simply too much of a bully. It was obvious that he was selling fake goods, yet he still had a carefree look on his face. The two originally didn't plan on buying pills, but after seeing Tang Ao bully people like this, the young man and young woman started discussing softly. The young man said, "Sister Chiao, I don't know about other pills, but I'm very familiar with the 3-star meditation pill. I saw that his stall was full of pills, so there might be some real pills mixed in." The woman called Sister Chiao nodded after hearing the young man's words. The young man's words were very reasonable. If Tang Ao dared to only sell pills here, it meant that Tang Ao's pills might really have some real pills. She casually glanced and realized that Tang Ao's pills were selling for half the price in the pill pavilion. Therefore, if Tang Ao's stall really had real pills, they would really be profiting if they bought them. But Brother Yun, what if the pills in his stall are all fake? The jade bottle he uses to store pills is a little strange. My soul remembrance can't penetrate it. If his stall is full of fakes, then we won't buy them. Let's go take a look at his meditation pill first. If it doesn't work, we can go to the Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion to buy it. Moreover, a poison fog canyon appeared in the outskirts of Evergreen Valley. Many pills will quickly increase in price. Let's take a look at his antidote pills. If they are useful, we can buy some. But, seeing that the young man had made up his mind, the girl hesitated for a moment and did not continue to speak. Instead, she accompanied the young man to the side of Tang Ao's stall. Tang Ao had set up a stall here for a long time. It was rare to see someone come over. Of course, Tang Ao's mood was very good. What kind of elixir would you like to buy? Or are you going to refine pills? Now, Tang Ao was not just selling pills here. If there was a warrior who needed to refine pills, Tang Ao could also refine pills on the spot. However, this time, Tang Ao would not refine too many pills here. Because there was no earth fire array formation, he could only use Yuan Qi to condense the pill fire here. Although the Crouching Dragon Market was slightly more peaceful than other places, it was not absolutely safe. With the recent Mad Dragon and Vicious Tiger, it meant that there were many people like them in the Crouching Dragon Market. We want meditation pills. Do you have them here? Seeing that Tang Ao was easy to talk to, the young man called Brother Yun let out a sigh of relief. Yu Yun and Mu Qiao had come to Tang Ao's stall to take advantage of him. If Tang Ao had a fiendish look, the two of them would have tactfully left. There had never been a lack of fights in the Crouching Dragon Cave. However, this was not because every warrior liked to fight. The Yu Yun and Mu Qiao in front of Tang Ao were not people who liked to cause trouble. Chapter 1407. Although he was puzzled, Yun didn't dare to be careless. The Tranquil Heart Pill was a 3-star pill, priced at 1 mid-grade vitality cultivation pill. This price was already very fair because in the major pill houses in the Hidden Dragon Market, the price of a 3-star pill was basically 2 mid-grade vitality cultivation pills. Pills like the Tranquil Heart Pill could be sold for 3 mid-grade vitality cultivation pills most of the time. Therefore, Tang Ao's price was too affordable, so affordable that people felt that there was definitely something wrong with the Tranquil Heart Pill. After receiving the Tranquil Heart Pill, Yu Yun didn't say anything more, but carefully examined the Tranquil Heart Pill in the jade bottle. With just one glance, Yu Yun couldn't control his shock, but very quickly, his heart was filled with ecstasy. Yu Yun didn't dare say anything about other pills. But for the Tranquil Heart Pill, there was really no fake Tranquil Heart Pill in the Hidden Dragon Market that could fool Yu Yun. Therefore, with just one glance, Yu Yun was sure that the Tranquil Heart Pill that Tang Ao handed to him was real. However, Yu Yun quickly reacted. There were 6 Tranquil Heart Pills in a bottle, so it was possible that only the top one was real. The rest of the Tranquil Heart Pills were all fake. Thinking of this, Yu Yun continued to examine the remaining 5 pills. But after examining them, Yu Yun found that these pills were exactly the same as the pills at the top. Yu Yun's heart was blooming with joy. It seemed that there was no problem with his previous judgment. That was when Tang Ao openly set up a stall to sell pills. There were indeed real pills mixed in. At this moment, Yu Yun secretly regretted not learning how to identify pills. Otherwise, as long as he could find all the genuine pills in this pile, he would definitely be able to make a huge profit. Unfortunately, Yu Yun only knew about the Tranquil Heart Pill. He didn't know much about the other pills. After thinking for a moment, Yu Yun decided not to take the risk. Being able to buy a bottle of Tranquil Heart Pill for the price of a mid-grade vitality cultivation pill was already a big advantage. If he continued to be greedy, he would inevitably suffer a loss. Thinking of this, Yu Yun decisively took out a jade bottle and handed it to Tang Ao. There were 2 mid-grade vitality cultivation pills in the jade bottle. Tang Ao was stunned for a moment before he understood. This person probably wanted 2 bottles of Tranquil Heart Pills, but he wasn't good at expressing his thoughts, so he directly gave him 2 middle-grade essence cultivating pills. Thinking so, Tang Ao grabbed a bottle of Tranquil Heart Pills and handed it to Yu Yun. Seeing the pills Tang Ao handed over, Yu Yun was somewhat speechless. The reason why he gave Tang Ao 2 mid-grade essence augmenting pills was because most of the time, the Tranquil Heart Pill was priced at 2 mid-grade essence augmenting pills. But this time, after the discovery of a peculiar miasma valley in the outskirts of Evergreen Valley, most of the pills took the opportunity to increase their prices. Naturally, the Tranquil Heart Pill was one of the many pills that increased their prices. Without much hesitation, Yu Yun took the Tranquil Heart Pill from Tang Ao. In Yu Yun's opinion, Although there were real pills in Tang Ao's stall, there wouldn't be too many of them. Therefore, this bottle of pills given by Tang Ao was most likely fake. Therefore, Yin still took the bottle of pills. After taking the bottle of pills, Yin thought for a moment before saying to Tang Ao, "Not long ago, a poisonous miasma valley was discovered in the outskirts of Evergreen Valley. If you want to obtain cultivation resources, you can go there. It seems that you don't have to do this kind of thing here." After Yu Yin finished speaking, he left with Mu Qiao, leaving behind a confused Tang Ao looking at their departing figures. Tang Ao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Tang Ao really couldn't understand why Yu Yin, who looked so normal, would speak so incoherently. After Yu Yin walked far away, a middle-aged cultivator beside Tang Ao smiled and said, "Brother's methods are brilliant. This kind of combination of fake and real pills might really make you rich." Chapter 1408. His words caused Tang Ao to not know whether to laugh or cry. He couldn't say or ask. This fellow shouldn't have spoken in the first place. Now that he had hooked Tang Ao's appetite, he ended up saying he couldn't say or ask. Just as he was thinking this, Tang Ao suddenly thought of something. Why were there so few martial artists looking at the pills on the stalls? The reason was very simple. The pills on the stalls definitely had problems. Tang Ao used his soul remembrance to look around. Tang Ao found that the majority of the pills sold here were only a third of the price in the pill pavilion. It was already very affordable. However, when Tang Ao's soul remembrance permeated the jade bottle containing the pills and saw the pills inside, Tang Ao felt like his nose was going crooked from anger. In this abandoned plaza, there were about 80 stalls. Almost all of these stalls had at least a few pills on display. But what made Tang Ao angry was that the pills of these fellows were really bad to the point of being ridiculous. It was fine if the quality of the pills was low, but there were even some pills that were completely useless. After seeing this, Tang Ao finally understood why Yu Yin told him not to do this kind of thing. Obviously, Yin also regarded him as a fake medicine seller. After understanding this, Tang Ao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Of all the pills here, only his pills had no problems. Yet, he was still being treated as a fake pill seller. On the other side, after Yu Yun and Mu Qiao bought Tang Ao's pills, they went to the Rosy Cloud Pill Pavilion. Halfway there, Mu Qiao hesitated before asking Yu Yun, "Brother Yun, were those 2 bottles of pills real? Why did you give him 2 middle-grade cultivating essence pills?" This wasn't because Mu Qiao didn't trust Yu Yun, but because Mu Qiao knew that Yu Yun was too kind and easily taken advantage of by others. Indeed, Yu Yun shook his head without thinking. Of those 2 bottles of pills, only the first bottle is real, and its quality is very high. Though I can determine that it's real tranquil heart pills, I'll have to ask Senior Sister Han Shui to help me see how high the quality is. As for the second bottle, I didn't even look at it. However, I don't think that person's nature is bad. He must have encountered some difficulties, which is why he came to sell fake pills. After Mu Qiao heard Yu Yun's words, he somewhat angrily said, "Humph, you only know that others have difficulties." Although his mouth said so, Mu Qiao really didn't blame Yu Yun. She and Yu Yun had been together for a long time. She knew that Yu Yun was kind, and she herself was also a kind person. That was why the 2 of them were able to get together. "Sister Qiao, don't be angry. What if this bottle of tranquil heart pills is real?" Yu Yun's words were completely to amuse Mu Qiao, because Yu Yun himself knew that having a bottle of tranquil heart pills was already a great fortune. If the bottle of tranquil heart pills that Tang Ao had casually picked up was real, then Yu Yun wouldn't believe it no matter what. Although Yu Yun was just casually saying it, Mu Qiao's interest was piqued. "Big brother Yun, hurry up and open it. It said that good people are rewarded. What if this bottle of tranquil pills is real?" "Sister Qiao, don't make trouble." Although his mouth said so, Yu Yun still opened the jade bottle. After opening the jade bottle, Yu Yun was immediately dumbfounded. Yu Yun even suspected that there was something wrong with his eyes, so he sniffed the smell of the pill. Then Yu Yun said in shock, "I didn't think that this bottle of tranquil heart pills is real. Chapter 1409. Although pills were good, but common pills were also poisonous. If one were to randomly take a pill when there was nothing to do, then there would definitely be problems. Therefore, this idea was absolutely not feasible. Even if it was a supplement-type pill, who would take a healing-type pill if they were not injured? However, after successfully selling the pill to Yu Yun, Tang Ao felt that it was not completely impossible to sell the pills from the stalls here. Show me your tranquil heart pill. Just as Tang Ao was thinking about how to prove that his pill was genuine, an old man diagonally behind Tang Ho suddenly spoke. This old man was selling spiritual grasses, and in his stall, Tang Ao saw a lot of medicinal powders, spiritual wine, and all kinds of low and medium spiritual grasses. When Tang Ao arrived, he had already noticed this old man. However, he had been dozing off previously. Tang Ao did not expect that although he looked like he was dozing off, he was actually very clear about what was happening around him. After the old man asked to see the pill refined by Tang Ao did not refuse and casually grabbed a bottle of Tranquil Heart pill and threw it to him. After Tang Ao threw the pill to the old man was still leaning on a rock with his head covered by his bamboo hat, not moving an inch. Because of this, the J bottle that Tang Ao threw to the old man naturally broke into pieces. However, Tang Ao's complexion did not change. He did not even think of catching the jade bottle. The jade bottle containing the Tranquil Heart pill fell freely from the air and was about to fall to the ground. But at this time, a subtle fluctuation of essence qi spread out, and the jade bottle that Tang Ao threw steadily fell in front of the old man. The old man did not look at Tang Ao, but straightened the bamboo hat covering his head. At this time, Tang Ao also saw the face of the old man. This old man seemed to be very old. His appearance looked even older than his seventh-grade uncle. His eyes were very cloudy. With such a pair of eyes, it would not be easy for him to see things clearly. However, after the old man picked up the pill that Tang Ao threw, he began to carefully examine it. The old man's interest was immediately piqued when he saw the Tranquil Heart pills in the jade bottle. Following this, he sent his soul remembrance into the pill, and his expression immediately became very interesting. On the dragon's subduing market street stalls, because most of the pills were made by second or even third-rate pill masters, their effects were very poor, so they were called trash pills. However, Tang Ao's bottle had a total of 6 pills, all made in the same furnace. This meant that this bottle was full when it was made. Normally, a full pill wouldn't be bad, so the old man began to carefully examine this bottle of pills. It would have been better if he hadn't looked, but now that he did, the old man started to wonder if his eyes were playing tricks on him. Of course, this was not because Tang Ao's pills were not good. On the contrary, it was because Tang Ao's pills were too good. Of course, this was not because Tang Ao's pill was bad. On the contrary, it was because Tang Ao's pill was too good. As long as one could extract 10% of the medicinal liquid essence, one could refine pills. However, the pills refined at this stage were called low-grade pills. When a medicinal liquid was refined to above 30% and below 70%, the medicinal pills refined would be mid-grade medicinal pills. When a medicinal liquid was refined to 70% to 90%, the pill was a high-grade pill. If the purity of the medicinal liquid was above 90%, then the refined medicinal pill would be the most precious of top-quality medicinal pills. Chapter 1410. This pill was refined by you. After a long time, Xiao Baichao finally recovered from his shock. Outsiders only knew that the warriors in the hidden dragon caves were constantly captured from the outside world by the dragon prison castle. There were also disciples from various factions who committed grave mistakes and were also sent to the hidden dragon caves. But Xiao Baichao knew that this was not the case. Although Xiao Baichao and Tang Ao were both in the hidden dragon caves, they were different from Tang Ao and the others. Xiao Baichao could leave the hidden dragon caves at any time. The reason why there were so many warriors imprisoned in the hidden dragon caves was because of Evergreen Valley. Back then, the ancestors of the 8 factions discovered an ancient relic in the Flying Star Cliff. The relic said that there were very terrifying demon beasts in Evergreen Valley. These demon beasts needed the blood of warriors to suppress. Therefore, the warriors imprisoned in the hidden dragon caves had to force out a drop of blood essence every month. After these blood essences were strictly divided according to grade, they would be injected into the 8 ceiling pillars on the periphery of Evergreen Valley. Back then, when they explored the depths of Evergreen Valley, Xiao Baichao was also a member of the exploration team. Therefore, Xiao Baichao knew more than others. After so many years, the old guy who went with them was almost dead. Therefore, there were fewer and fewer people who saw the terrifying demon beasts in the depths of Evergreen Valley. Fortunately, the descendants of the 8 factions were still sensible and kept replenishing the fresh blood in the hidden dragon caves. "Senior, how is it?" Xiao Baicao's long memories were interrupted by Tang Ao, which made him unhappy. But when he thought of how Tang Ao had such high alchemy attainments at such a young age, Xiao Baichao immediately felt that he really couldn't put on any airs in front of Junior like Tang Ao. "The pill is not bad. Go to the Alchemist Alliance and get certified. Your pills will be in short supply." Xiao Baichao casually threw the jade bottle to Tang Ao after he finished speaking. Although Xiao Baichao had said the solution, Tang Ao still didn't know what the Alchemist Alliance was. Moreover, where was the Alchemist Alliance? "Senior, may I ask where the Alchemist Alliance is? And what kind of certification is needed?" Tang Ao really did not know that there was such a thing as an Alchemy Master certification in the Hidden Dragon Crypt. Moreover, Tang Ao remembered that among the 10 alliances in the Dragon's Subduing Crypt, there was no Alchemist Alliance. However, after Tang Ao asked the question, the elder martial artist seemed to have fallen asleep and had no intention of speaking at all. "Senior apprentice brother Tang Ao, I know about the Alchemist Alliance. Elder Sister Mu had told me before that the Alchemist Alliance was in the central square of the Subduing Dragon Market. It's just that I've never been there before, so I don't know what to do," Sidu Qianqian, who was beside Tang Ao, said to Tang Ao after thinking for a while. Hearing Situ Qianqian say that she knew where the Alchemist Alliance was, Tang Ao was delighted. "Come, Junior Sister Qianqian, let's go to the Alchemist Alliance to take a look." Tang Ao felt that the strange old man's words made sense. After becoming an alchemist, he would be able to prove his identity. And a 6-star alchemist would definitely not sell fake pills to ruin his reputation. Therefore, Tang Ao prepared to go to the Alchemist Alliance to be certified as a 6-star alchemist. If Tang Ao was willing, even the highest level 9-star alchemist exam in the whole Flying Star continent was nothing to Tang Ao, because Tang Ao's alchemy level had long surpassed this level. However, Tang Ao's cultivation level was too low, so Tang Ao did not dare to show off too much. Chapter 14:11. Friend, may I ask where everyone is going? Tang Ao conveniently stopped a martial artist and cupped his fists. This person was a bit angry at being suddenly stopped by Tang Ao. However, after scanning with his soul remembrance, he discovered that he couldn't see through Tang Ao's cultivation, so he didn't dare to act up. In the Hidden Dragon Cave, there were only 2 situations when one couldn't see through the opponent's cultivation. One was that the opponent was cultivating some technique to hide their cultivation. The other was that the opponent's cultivation was much higher than his. Since Tang Ao dared to stop him without hesitation, the latter was more likely. Thinking of this person suppressed his unhappiness and said to Tang Ao, "Today is the 2nd round of the annual Pill Refiner exam. All the pill refiners that pass the 1st round will have the 2nd round on the Pill Refiner Plaza." Hearing that today was the 2nd round of Pill Refiner exam, Tang Ao's heart thumped. Hearing this martial artist's words, it seemed that there was an exam before that he missed. Thinking of this, Tang Ao hastily asked, "Then can the pill refiners that didn't participate in the 1st round participate in the 2nd round?" Seeing that Tang Ao didn't have any intentions of letting him go, this martial artist silently cursed his bad luck. Tang Ao couldn't stop anyone, but he had to stop him. The reason he went so early today was to get closer to the high stage in the center of the pill refiner plaza, so he could observe the many pill refiners concoct pills. Yet, after being stopped by Tang Ao, many people walked in front of him. However, he couldn't figure out Tang Ao's true cultivation, so he didn't dare act up. Helplessly sighing, He decided to carefully explain the pill refiner conference to Tang Ao. Because the pill refiner plaza was definitely filled with people right now, there was no difference between going now and going a while later. The Hidden Dragon Market's Pill Refiner Conference is the Pill Refiner Certification Conference of the Hidden Dragon Cave. It's held once a year, and each time it lasts for 3 days. The Pill Refiner Conference's exam is split into 2 rounds. Only pill refiners that pass the first round can participate in the second round. Therefore, the alchemists who went on stage to refine pills today were all very powerful. If you're also interested in alchemy, let's not waste time here. Let's hurry over. The alchemy conference is about to begin. He patiently explained everything to Tang Ao. Although he was stopped by Tang Ao and didn't have the chance to sit in the front row today, he still didn't want to miss the opening of the alchemy conference today, so he urged Tang Ao to hurry. He had been very interested in medicinal herbs since he was a child, and he also wanted to learn alchemy. It was just that his spirit root did not have a fire attribute. He had a pure wood spirit root, so no alchemy grandmaster was willing to accept him as a disciple. Even so, he did not give up on the idea of alchemy and continued to learn alchemy by himself. It was just that he was congenitally deficient. He didn't have a pure fire spirit root, and he didn't have a good teacher to guide him, so he had been walking down the wrong path. Fortunately, his perseverance was commendable, and he was able to persevere under such circumstances. Later on, he realized that observing some powerful pill refiners was very enlightening to him. So he often thought of ways to watch some pill refiners refine pills. During the alchemy conference every year, the Pill Refiner Plaza would gather the best batch of pill refiners in the entire Hidden Dragon Cave to refine pills and exchange pointers, so he naturally wouldn't miss such a grand event. Chapter 14:12. Seeing that Tang Ao seemed to be very interested in the alchemy conference, he couldn't help but ask, "Are you an alchemist too?" Although most alchemists would go to watch the alchemy conference, not all of them were alchemists. Many martial artists who wanted to request for elixirs would go through the alchemy conference to understand the alchemy abilities of the alchemists, and then choose the alchemist they were satisfied with. Yes, but it's a pity that I didn't participate in the first assessment. I'm afraid I won't be able to participate in the second assessment today. Tang Ao secretly sighed at his bad luck. He had finally found out about the Alchemy Master Assessment, but he didn't have time to participate in the first assessment. Now, he didn't have the chance to participate in the second assessment. At this time, Tang Ao also somewhat understood why the old man didn't speak previously. That person must have known that he didn't participate in the first assessment after he asked about the alchemy conference. Since he didn't even participate in the first assessment, there was naturally no need for him to participate in the second assessment. Although that was the case, Tang Ao still had to go and take a look. The rules were dead, but people were alive. Although this was the rule, Tang Ao felt that there would always be exceptions. Moreover, Tang Ao's own alchemy level was simply unquestionable. The so-called 9-star alchemist in the Flying Star continent was merely a peak first-grade alchemist according to the classification standards of the Black-Yellow continent. As a peak 6th-grade alchemist and someone who was half a step into the ranks of alchemy immortals, Tang Ao didn't believe that his elixirs couldn't be sold. After following E to the Alchemy Plaza, Tang Ao realized that he had still underestimated the popularity of the alchemists in the Hidden Dragon Cave. At this moment, in the Hidden Dragon Cave, the plaza that could accommodate 10,000 people was actually full. Even the surrounding buildings were filled with people. At this time, Tang Ao also understood why he was in a hurry just now. After arriving late, there wasn't even a place to stand. After looking for a while and realizing that there wasn't a particularly good place, Tang Ao and sure, he jumped onto a thick tree like the others and stood to watch. A martial artist's eyesight was extraordinary. Even though they were separated by such a distance, they could still see everything that was happening in the square. Originally, Tang Ao thought that there were not many alchemists in the Hidden Dragon Crypt. Now, Tang Ao realized that the truth was not as he thought. Tang Ao scanned the area with his soul psyche and discovered that there were at least 300 alchemists in the Alchemy Plaza. Moreover, there would be alchemists going up the stage from time to time. This meant that there were more alchemists in the Hidden Dragon Crypt than this. Previously, Tang Ao had learned that the dragon subduing crypt was an important place in the dragon prison castle. But now, Tang Ao was doubting the accuracy of his words. The dragon prison castle was one of the 8 overlord forces of the Flying Star Continent. It was not a problem for the dragon prison castle to capture some warriors and imprison them in the hidden dragon caves. However, if the dragon prison castle wantonly captured alchemists and imprisoned them in the hidden dragon crypt, Tang Ao felt that even if the dragon prison castle was one of the 8 overlord forces, it probably wouldn't be able to withstand the public condemnation. Therefore, Tang Ao felt that this hidden dragon crypt was very likely not just the dragon prison castle. It was very likely that the other 7 major forces were involved. Otherwise, how could the other 7 major forces just sit back and watch the dragon prison castle wantonly capture alchemists? Chapter 14:13. After thinking for a while, Tang Ao said to Shi, I'll go down and see if there's any way to participate in the second round of assessment. Tang Ao left without waiting for Shi to react. Shi was stunned by Tang Ao's words. What did he just say about participating in the second round? What? Shi muttered to himself before he reacted. Shi was speechless. Tang Ao looked like a very normal person. How could he have such a whimsical idea? It wasn't impossible to participate in the second round of assessment if one didn't participate in the first round of assessment. However, one had to pass a question from the head examiner before they could participate in the second round of assessment. However, the head examiner for this year's alchemy conference was the Elixir Production Alliance's deputy union master, Xiaozhen. The Alchemist Alliance had a union master and 3 deputy union masters. Every year's alchemy conference, these 4 top-notch alchemists would take turns to be the head examiners. The alchemists who didn't make it to the first round of assessment could participate in the second round of assessment as long as they answered one of the head examiner's questions correctly. This rule was recognized by the 4 of them. However, ever since Xiaozhen became the head examiner, there had never been anyone who could pass the assessment. Hence, if they knew that the head examiner for a certain year was Xiaozhen, the alchemists in the Hidden Dragon Cave would rather leave half a year earlier than be late. Because of this, Shi didn't tell Tang Ao about this method. On the other side, Tang Ao had already arrived in front of a wooden house. Tang Ao found out that this wooden house was specially used to consult about all matters related to the alchemy conference. Hence, Tang Ao wanted to ask how someone like him could participate in the second round of assessment, or rather, if there were any other methods of verification. Tang Ao felt that with so many alchemists in the Hidden Dragon Cave, it was too little to verify once a year. They should be able to verify at any time. When Tang Ao came over, he saw a few people standing on the other side of the wooden house. As for the window, there was no one at all. There were still 2 hours before the start of the alchemy conference. Everyone was already in place, ready to watch the alchemy conference. What do you want? It was completely different from what Tang Ao had imagined. There was no sweet-looking female martial artist in this hut. Instead, there was an extremely burly middle-aged man reading a book inside. When Tang Ao came to the window, the middle-aged man didn't even raise his head and just casually asked, I am Tang Ao, a pill refiner who is here to participate in the alchemy conference. Due to the delay on the road, I didn't make it in time for the first round of alchemy assessment. I wonder if there's any way for me to participate in the second round of assessment certification. Just now, Tang Ao had already found out that the reason why the alchemy assessment was split into 2 rounds was because in the first round, all the martial artists who were just there to make up the numbers would be eliminated. As for the second round, it would be the true assessment to assess the alchemy skills of the alchemy masters. Therefore, strictly speaking, the first assessment was not very important. It was also because of this that the 4 higher-ups of the Alchemist Alliance established the rule that the chief examiner had the right to allow alchemists to directly participate in the second assessment. In fact, in the first round of assessment, those slightly famous alchemists did not participate because their alchemy abilities were already beyond doubt. Chapter 14:14. Excuse me, my friend. What is the purpose of going there? Tang Ao asked confusedly. You really don't know? Tang Ao's words surprised the middle-aged man. In his mind, Tang Ao didn't participate in the first exam, but wanted to participate in the second one. This meant that Tang Ao should know the rules. Why was Tang Ao asking such a question now? I've never participated in an alchemy conference before. This is indeed my first time. That's why I'm late. Tang Ao didn't know about the rules of this conference in the first place. If it weren't for that mysterious old man in the market telling him that he could come to the conference to get certified, Tang Ao wouldn't even know about the existence of the Hidden Dragon Cave and the Alchemist Union. The middle-aged man's sharp eyes stared at Tang Ao for a while. After making sure that Tang Ao wasn't lying, he explained, for the alchemists who didn't participate in the first exam, if they want to participate in the second exam, they will have to pass the main examiner's test. This year's main examiner is our Alchemist Union's vice leader, Xiaozhen. You go over there and wait. My teacher will bring the exam questions over soon. As the middle-aged man spoke, he pointed at the empty space next to him. Thank you for your guidance. Tang Ao's confusion was finally solved. After holding his fists together towards the middle-aged man, Tang Ao was ready to walk to the empty space next to him. Although the middle-aged man said that the main examiner was his teacher, Tang Ao didn't want to get close to him. In terms of cultivation, Tang Ao used to be a peak level 9 astral reaching realm warrior, which was something that these people couldn't even imagine. In terms of alchemy, Tang Ao was half a step into the ranks of Alchemist Immortal, which was something that normal alchemists couldn't compete with. Plus, Tang Ao wasn't familiar with this middle-aged man, so naturally, there wasn't much to talk about. However, just as Tang Ao was about to go over, the middle-aged man stopped him. I say, this time's main examiner is my teacher. Aren't you going to ask me about the exam content? Hearing this, Tang Ao couldn't help but look back at this guy. This guy had a square face of righteousness, and his back was perfectly straight. No matter how you looked at him, he was a righteous and resolute person. But now this guy actually asked this kind of question. However, Tang Ao still shook his head, not interested. After saying this, Tang Ao didn't stay and walked to the empty space next to him. What a joke. Tang Ao was a 6th-grade alchemist, but he was only a 6-star alchemist now. If he still had to cheat, Tang Ao could just cripple his own cultivation and stop cultivating. When Tang Ao arrived at the open space, he discovered that these people didn't seem to care at all. Since these people were waiting here, they should be waiting to pass the main examiner's test and participate in the second exam as an exception. However, the people waiting here didn't look nervous, nor did they look expectant. They all had an indifferent expression. Although Tang Ao's expression was also very relaxed, it was because Tang Ao was very confident. Could it be that these guys were the same as him? Tang Ao thought inwardly. However, at this moment, Tang Ao sensed a weak soul psyche ripple behind him. This kind of soul psyche ripple was naturally very familiar to Tang Ao. Perhaps every martial artist was very familiar with it, because this kind of soul psyche ripple would only appear when using soul psyche to communicate. However, the martial artists here didn't have much of a difference in cultivation. Therefore, apart from Tang Ao, the others didn't notice that these two were using soul psyche to communicate. Chapter 14:15. Tang Ao was speechless after hearing this. Could the examiner's test be different? And even if these people passed the examiner's test, if they didn't have the real ability, the second test would be useless. But this wasn't something Tang Ao needed to worry about. Right now, Tang Ao just wanted to pass this test quickly and then sell his pills. Because of the appearance of the poison fog canyon, Tang Ao had to enter Long Green Valley earlier. But before entering Long Green Valley, Tang Ao still had to make sufficient preparations. First, with Tang Ao's current cultivation, entering Long Green Valley was undoubtedly very risky. No matter how many tricks Tang Ao had, Tang Ao's cultivation was still a little low. In the middle of Long Green Valley, and even in some of the outer regions, there were 9-star demonic beasts. 9-star demonic beasts were equivalent to the peak of the body refining realm among human martial artists. And normally, demonic beasts had strong bodies and special talents. Therefore, at the same level, most demonic beasts were stronger than most martial artists of the same level. With Tang Ao's current cultivation at the peak of the body refining realm, he could barely deal with 7-star or even 8-star demonic beasts. But once he met a 9-star demonic beast, Tang Ao could only run. And this was only under normal circumstances. After all, Tang Ao had seen the image that Xiao Ling had recorded in the depths of Long Green Valley. In that image, there were even life and death realm or even stronger demonic beasts in the depths of Long Green Valley. If Tang Ao entered Long Green Valley at the 5th level of the body refining realm, as long as he met a spiritual sea realm demonic beast, Tang Ao would be doomed. Therefore, before entering Long Green Valley, Tang Ao had to increase his cultivation as much as possible. Previously, when Tang Ao entered Long Green Valley, he didn't have a clear goal. But not long ago, after hearing from Zhao Tao about the poison fog canyon on the outer regions of Long Green Valley, Tang Ao was prepared to go there to take a look. Tang Ao was very interested in the crystal stone that Zhao Tao had taken out. This was because Tang Ao could feel a very powerful essence qi from the broken crystal. The intensity of this essence qi even surpassed spiritual qi. Although it sounded ridiculous, Tang Ao knew that there was nothing wrong with his feelings. Moreover, Tang Ao also obtained a falling star command token. Tang Ao knew that this falling star command token was certainly an extraordinary treasure. Otherwise, a chaotic heavenly realm expert like Shi Yun would not be interested in it. It was just that up until now, Tang Ao still hadn't figured out what this meteorite token was used for. However, since Zhao Tao found the meteorite token in the Miasma Canyon, Tang Ao felt that he should be able to find some clues in the Miasma Canyon. Just as Tang Ao was thinking about these things, the middle-aged warrior who had been sitting in the wooden house and reading a book walked over. Tang Ao noticed that this middle-aged warrior was holding some jade cards in his hands, but he didn't know what they were used for. My honorable master is currently at the venue and has no time to come over. This time, I will test you alchemists on behalf of my honorable master. I hope that everyone does not mind. Shui Tai cupped his fists towards everyone. Senior apprentice brother Shui Tai is too serious. It is our honor to be able to receive guidance from senior apprentice brother Shui Tai. The others had not yet finished speaking when the closest warrior to Shui Tai immediately boasted. After hearing his words, the surrounding warriors suddenly felt a burst of regret in their hearts. Such a good opportunity had actually not been grasped just now. If it had been the same as before, and Xiao Zhan had come up with the test, then no one here would have been able to pass. However, this Shui Tai was obviously a lot easier to talk to. As long as Shui Tai was satisfied, it would not be difficult for him to go easy on them during the test. In any case, the rules were set by Shui Tai. Even if he went easy on them, others would not be able to tell. I ask senior apprentice brother Shui to be lenient. If junior apprentice brother is able to participate in the second round of the test, junior apprentice brother will definitely thank you. Basically, everyone here had given gifts to Shui Tai. Even if they had not given gifts before, they had seen everyone give gifts just now, and Shui Tai had not avoided it. This showed that Shui Tai clearly did not care about accepting gifts. Therefore, when this warrior spoke, he did not avoid it. Senior apprentice brother Shui Tai, After hearing this warrior say this, the few warriors who had not given Shui Tai any benefits immediately panicked. However, Shui Tai raised his hand to stop them. Everyone, rest assured, I have my own discretion. Chapter 14:16. There are 20 jade tokens here. Each of you take a token. As long as you can answer the questions on the token, you can participate in the second round of the Alchemist Conference, Shui Tai said to the crowd after taking out the tokens. After hearing Shui Tai's words, the martial artists who didn't give Shui Tai any benefits felt even more uncertain. The reason why they didn't give Shui Tai any benefits was because they knew the examiner this time was Xiao Zhen. If it was any other senior of the Alchemy Guild, they wouldn't be like this. But under Xiao Zhen, there had never been an alchemist who could participate in the second round without participating in the first round. Hence, they came with the mentality of giving it a try. But what they didn't expect was that this time, Xiao Zhen was too lazy to come and let his disciple do it for him. This made their intestines turn green with regret. Also, although this Shui Tai accepted benefits, he was clearly not an easy person to deal with. He accepted all the benefits that everyone gave him just now. Now that the martial artists who didn't give him any benefits wanted to give him some benefits, he didn't accept them. Let me try. Just as everyone was hesitating on what to do, an alchemist beside Tang Ao said immediately. Everyone's gaze was immediately attracted by him. After seeing that it was Lin Fan who spoke, everyone sighed in their hearts. Because this alchemist Lin had just given Shui Tai half a supreme grade vitality cultivating pill. Although it was only half a pill, it was already very precious. Many alchemists didn't even recognize that it was a supreme grade vitality cultivating pill. Because in the Hidden Dragon Cave, and even in the entire Facian continent, supreme grade vitality cultivating pills were very rare. Hence, many alchemists here hadn't even seen the actual supreme grade vitality cultivating pill. But this alchemist directly gave Shui Tai half a supreme grade vitality cultivating pill. No wonder he was so confident. Full of confidence, he walked up to Shui Tai and said, "Senior brother Shui Tai, I'll try first." Take one. Shui Tai nodded and didn't say much. Shui Tai's indifferent reply stunned the alchemist. He had already received the news that the Dan Alliance's deputy alliance master, Xiao Zhen, would not be coming. Instead, Xiao Zhen's eldest disciple, Shui Tai, would be coming. That was why he had paid a huge price to give Shui Tai half of a supreme grade vitality enhancing pill that he had obtained from a historical remnant. His purpose was to let Shui Tai pass. From the surrounding people's soul remembrance transmissions, Tang Ao heard that this pill refiner had given Shui Tai half a supreme grade raising energy pill. If it was any other pill, its medicinal strength would be greatly reduced after it was damaged. The vitality augmenting pill was very special. As long as this kind of pill wasn't damaged too badly, it wouldn't affect its effects. In other words, this half a supreme grade essence augmenting pill would definitely have the same effect as half a supreme grade essence augmenting pill. Therefore, this half a vitality augmenting pill was equivalent to 50 high-grade vitality augmenting pills or 5,000 mid-grade vitality augmenting pills. Tang Ao had been the dragon subduing crypt for so long and naturally knew the weight of 5,000 middle-grade essence cultivating pills. It was also because of this that Tang Ao was a bit surprised. Why was this fellow so insistent on the second round of the exam? According to what Tang Ao knew, the second round of the exam was only to evaluate the alchemist's pill concoction ability. Chapter 14:17. Was he thinking too much? Although Tang Ao didn't care if this test was fair or not, because no matter how difficult the test was, Tang Ao was confident he could pass. Under everyone's gaze, the young man called Lin Fan took out a jade card from Shui Tai's hand. Tang Ao was sure that Shui Tai didn't do anything during this process. In other words, if the problem in this jade card was something Lin Fan didn't know, then Lin Fan's half pill would be wasted. After Lin Fan took out a jade card from Shui Tai's hand, Everyone else also took out jade cards in front of Xuetai. After Tang Ao randomly took out a jade card, he walked to the side. Probing with his soul remembrance, Tang Ao saw the problem with his jade card. This question caused Tang Ao to be slightly shocked, because the question on the jade card was, "Are there higher alchemy realms after 9-star Pill Master?" After seeing this question, Tang Ao discovered that all the Pill Masters around him had very interesting expressions. Tang Ao was first stunned, and then he understood something. Immediately, Tang Ao released his soul remembrance, and everyone's jade card were scanned by Tang Ao with his soul remembrance. Tang Ao thought to himself, as expected, everyone's jade card had the same problem. Using this method to take out jade cards was completely superfluous. At this time, as long as martial artists who were familiar with each other communicated with soul remembrance, they would immediately know the problem with this jade card. However, what Tang Ao didn't expect was that no martial artist communicated with soul remembrance. Not long ago, Tang Ao saw that many people here were familiar with each other. Yet now, when it came to their own benefits, no one spoke. Without thinking further, Tang Ao's attention returned to the jade card in his hand. Other people didn't know this problem, but Tang Ao knew it clearly. Tang Ao could say with certainty that above 9-star Pill Master, there were many alchemy realms. Tang Ao could even explain them in detail. However, Tang Ao did not know how to answer this question, because Tang Ao did not believe that Xuetai knew that there were alchemy tiers above 9-star Alchemist. If Tang Ao answered truthfully, it was most likely that he would give a wrong answer. However, if he answered no directly, then the question would be even more meaningless. Tang Ao fell into deep thought. Tang Ao thought about the meaning of this question. Suddenly, a thought flashed through Tang Ao's mind. Then Tang Ao thought of something. In his previous life, Tang Ao had trained to the peak of astral reaching realm level 9. However, for a long time after that, Tang Ao had been thinking about whether or not there was a higher realm above the peak of astral reaching realm level 9. Although Tang Ao had also discovered experts above astral reaching realm in some ruins, Tang Ao had not found the path to a higher realm even before his death. Right now, Xuetai's master should have also discovered the same problem. Thinking of this, Tang Ao couldn't help but sigh. Although he already knew about the world above astral reaching realm, Tang Ao had yet to touch the edge of that world. After pondering for a moment, Tang Ao wrote down his answer on the jade card with his soul remembrance. Tang Ao's answer was very simple. There were only 6 simple words. Alchemy is endless. Then, Tang Ao continued to write his answer on the jade card with his soul remembrance. Then, Tang Ao handed the jade card over to Xuetai. Chapter 14:18. Not just the other alchemists, but even Xuetai was surprised. How did Tang Ao answer so quickly? Out of all these alchemists, Xuetai was most interested in Tang Ao's answer. Xuetai could tell that Tang Ao's arrogance wasn't fake. Instead, it was a display of extreme confidence in his own strength. This kind of alchemist usually didn't have bad alchemy skills. Though Xuetai looked very boorish on the outside, Xuetai himself was this kind of person. Are you done answering? Have you thought it through? Xuetai rarely asked other people questions, but now, Xuetai asked Tang Ao 2 questions in a row. As he asked, Xuetai scanned the jade card with his soul remembrance. Immediately, Xuetai saw Tang Ao's answer. Tang Ao's answer was very simple. There were only 6 words. Alchemy is endless. Seeing these 6 words, Xuetai was a bit stunned, but he still nodded. Though Xuetai's answer wasn't as resolute as Tang Ao's, Xuetai also believed that there were higher alchemy realms above 9-star alchemists. However, he hadn't even reached 9-star alchemist yet, so he naturally didn't have the qualifications to pursue higher alchemy realms. Okay, take this identity jade card and participate in the second round of the exam. This time, Xuetai took out a golden jade card from his storage ring and gave it to Tang Ao. At the moment, this golden jade card only had one number, alchemist number 520. Tang Ao didn't think he would pass so easily. After receiving the golden jade card, Tang Ao cupped his fists towards Shui Tai and immediately rushed towards the high platform for the second round of the exam. Only after Tang Ao left did everyone react. Tang Ao being able to answer correctly so quickly meant that Tang Ao definitely knew the correct answer. Just now, they should have used soul remembrance to ask, but just now, everyone was stunned by Tang Ao. No one thought of this. The Alchemy Conference's venue was extremely spacious. Tang Ao walked around for a while before he arrived at the stage for the second round of the assessment. This high platform was made of solid basalt rocks and was 30 feet above the ground. The area of the platform was very wide. Even if thousands of people stood on it at the same time, it would not be crowded at all. 600 pill furnaces were placed neatly on the stone platform. Beside most of the pill furnaces, there were already alchemists sitting by the side to regulate their breathing, ensuring that they would participate in the competition in their peak condition. There was no first place in martial arts and no second place in alchemy. In the cultivation of martial arts, there was always someone better than you. Therefore, no one dared to say that they were the strongest in martial arts. Even Lu Chuanjia, the well-acknowledged strongest warrior on the Flying Star Continent, had never admitted that he was the strongest warrior on the Flying Star Continent. However, refining pills was different. Currently, the best alchemists on the Flying Star Continent were judging the quality of the vitality augmentation pills they refined. If a pill refiner could refine the ultimate vitality enhancement pill, he would be the best pill refiner on the Flying Star Continent. This was because among the many pill refiners on the Flying Star Continent, there were less than 10 who could refine high-grade vitality augmentation pills. However, although these 10 pill refiners could refine high-grade vitality augmentation pills, none of them could refine the ultimate vitality augmentation pills. As Tang Ao walked towards the high platform, some people were astonished. Although there were 519 pill refiners on the stage, which was quite a number, almost every pill refiner had people paying attention to them. Moreover, Tang Ao was obviously a new face. Although there were many pill refiners here, everyone could be sure that Tang Ao was not among the pill refiners who stood out in the first round. What was the reason? Many people seemed to have thought of an impossible answer. Chapter 1419. If it was any other senior from the Alchemy Guild, no one would be so surprised. However, the main examiner of the alchemy assessment this time was Xiao Zhan. The fact that Tang Ao had passed the test was a little unbelievable to everyone. Ever since Xiao Zhan became the main examiner of the alchemy assessment, there had never been an alchemist under him who could skip the first round and directly participate in the second round. The alchemists who did not participate in the first round were not because they did not participate in the first round, but because they had achieved impressive results in the alchemy assessment over the years, so there was no need for them to participate in the first round. Alchemy assessment is a restricted area. Idlers are not allowed to enter. Just as Tang Ao walked onto the high platform of the alchemy conference, a martial artist holding a long spear blocked Tang Ao's way. This guard was extremely sturdy, just like an iron tower. "This is my identity jade card." Tang Ao did not say much and directly handed over the golden jade card that Shui Tai had given him not long ago. At this moment, this golden jade card did not have Tang Ao's name written on it, only a number 520. After seeing this jade card, the guard immediately stepped aside and let Tang Ao pass. Those alchemists who had been eliminated in the first round were now extremely envious of Tang Ao. Not far away, Shi, who was standing on a towering ancient tree, suspected that his eyes were playing tricks on him. This was because Shi realized that the martial artist who had just walked onto the alchemy platform looked very similar to Tang Ao. After continuing to stare carefully for a while, Shi's eyes widened. This was because Shi was sure that the alchemist who had just walked onto the platform was Tang Ao. How is this possible? Have I been poisoned by the illusion flower poison? Shi suddenly removed a hair from his head. The clear pain let him know that he was definitely very awake at this moment. However, even though this had happened in front of him, Sure, he still felt that it was a little unbelievable. One had to know that the main examiner in charge of the alchemy assessment this time was the deputy chief of the Alchemy Guild, Xiao Zhen. Xiao Zhen had always been known to be impartial and impartial. Under his supervision, there was no way that anyone could cheat their way through. After confirming the identity of the alchemist, Tang Ao walked to a stone table with the number 520 written on it. At this moment, there was a standardized alchemy furnace placed on the stone table. It was the standard alchemy furnace used by alchemists to refine pills. Obviously, alchemists were not allowed to use their own alchemy furnace in the following assessment. There were pros and cons to doing this. Every alchemist's alchemy habits were different, so basically every alchemist had their own alchemy furnace. Most people would only use this kind of standard alchemy furnace in the early stages of learning alchemy. After that, they never used it again. As for Tang Ao, it was his first time coming into contact with this kind of pill furnace because when Tang Ao first started learning alchemy, he used a high-grade pill furnace. At this moment, this pill furnace was the worst pill furnace Tang Ao had ever used in alchemy. Tang Ao's soul remembrance swept the alchemy furnace. After seeing the crude and chaotic inscription arrays, Tang Ao felt very speechless. Tang Ao felt that if this kind of alchemy furnace got too hot, it would most likely explode. The alchemy assessment assembly organized by the Alchemy Alliance could be considered the highest standard alchemy exchange in a hidden dragon crypt. How could the alchemy furnace used be so bad? Chapter 1420. After seeing this problem, Tang Ao understood. The reason why pill masters were allowed to enter the pill concoction conference early wasn't to let everyone come in to meditate. Instead, it was to let everyone come in to fix the inscription arrays on the pill furnace. Compared to blacksmiths, pill masters didn't know much about inscription arrays. However, almost every pill master knew about the 5 most basic inscription arrays on the pill furnace. Tang Ao's soul remembrance instantly spread out in all directions. Subsequently, Tang Ao saw that although some pill masters were sitting to the side, they were secretly using soul remembrance to fix the broken inscription arrays on the pill furnace. A few of the pill masters had already finished fixing the inscription arrays on the pill furnace. There were also some people who didn't understand the situation at all. Seeing the other pill masters sitting down, they also sat down with nothing to do. In reality, other people sat down to concentrate on fixing the broken inscription arrays on the pill furnace, but these people didn't know. After scanning the area with soul remembrance, Tang Ao also sat down. Subsequently, Tang Ao's powerful soul remembrance surged towards the pill furnace next to him. This elixir furnace had 5 basic inscription arrays for refining elixir furnaces, but at this moment, these 5 arrays were all damaged. Fortunately, the damage wasn't very serious. Therefore, as long as one knew a little about inscription arrays, they could follow the instructions and fix the 5 broken inscription arrays. Fixing these 5 inscription arrays naturally wasn't a problem for Tang Ao. However, Tang Ao didn't plan on fixing these 5 inscription arrays because their grade was too low. The inscription arrays that Tang Ao could casually carve were dozens of times better than these. Therefore, with a powerful soul remembrance fluctuation, the inscription arrays inside the pill furnace were completely destroyed by Tang Ao. After destroying the original inscription arrays, Tang Ao began to carve new inscription arrays inside the pill furnace. Under Tang Ao's soul remembrance carving, an incomparably complex inscription quietly appeared. Mysterious lines ran through the entire pill furnace. It didn't take long for the 3-star alchemy furnace to become a 9-star alchemy furnace in Tang Ao's hands. However, due to the poor quality of the materials used to refine the elixir furnace, even if Tang Ao directly engraved the 9-star inscription formation inside the elixir furnace, the elixir furnace did not reach the standard of 9-star elixir furnace. However, at this level, there was no problem for Tang Ao to use this pill furnace for alchemy. After Tang Ao finished carving the inscription formation, he sat quietly and adjusted his breathing. At the same time, Tang Ao secretly considered what level of alchemy master he should certify this time. At first, Tang Ao was prepared to certify a 6-star alchemist, but after Tang Ao saw so many alchemists on the alchemy platform, Tang Ao knew that though a 6-star alchemist was not bad, it seemed like he was still slightly lacking. After some consideration, Tang Ao decided that this time, he would certify an alchemist above 6-star. As for how many stars he wanted to certify, it would depend on what the test was about. This wasn't because Tang Ao didn't have confidence in the test, but because Tang Ao felt that if the content of the test was too heaven-defying, it would be better for him to keep a low profile. There was sure Tianyun here. Who knew if there was a second or third turbid heaven realm expert hidden here? Although Tang Ao believed that he had some skills, Tang Ao wasn't conceited enough to challenge a turbid heaven realm expert. Chapter 1421. Tang Ao had estimated that with the strength of the Flying Star Continent's energy, it could only support a martial artist to the first level of the origin martial realm. Any higher, and the martial artist's energy would be saturated, and they wouldn't be able to break through to a higher level. Therefore, if this old man was half a step into the origin martial realm, he would definitely be a top expert in the entire Flying Star Continent. Greetings, Alliance Leader Xiao. While Tang Ao was still in a daze, the other martial artists all stood up respectfully. Whether it was the alchemists on the stage or the martial artists below, they all bowed to Xiao Zhen. Tang Ao also realized that this old man was the deputy alliance leader of the Alchemy Guild and the chief examiner of this alchemy conference, Xiao Zhen. Tang Ao wasn't very clear about Xiao Zhen's alchemy abilities, but Tang Ao didn't doubt Xiao Zhen's abilities at all. Right now, Tang Ao could still escape from a martial artist at the 9th level of the body, refining realm. However, if he were to face a powerful martial artist like Xiao Zhen, Tang Ao definitely wouldn't have a chance to escape. However, Tang Ao didn't have any conflicts with this alliance leader Xiao, so Tang Ao didn't need to worry about these problems at the moment. Xiao Zhen casually waved his hand. No need to be so polite. Since everyone is ready, the alchemy conference will begin now. Let me first explain the rules. The second round of the alchemy conference will be divided into 3 rounds. These 3 rounds will be the same as the previous years. The first round will be to identify spirit herbs, the second round will be to refine any kind of pill, and the third round will be to refine the vitality cultivating pill. After the 3 rounds, I and the other alchemists will judge your alchemy level. If there are no questions, we will begin now. Xiao Zhen looked at the crowd, clearly asking if anyone had any questions. Other than Tang Ao, the alchemists who were able to come here were all very familiar with the process of the alchemy conference. Naturally, there wouldn't be any questions. At this time, Tang Ao suddenly realized that someone was looking at him. Tang Ao turned around and realized that the person who was looking at him was Master Lin Fan. Tang Ao remembered that this guy had very generously bribed Shuetai with half a supreme gray vitality augmenting pill. Now seeing him here, Tang Ao didn't know whether it was because of the supreme gray vitality augmenting pill or some other reason. When Tang Ao looked at Lin Fan smiled back at Tang Ao. Tang Ao nodded back as a form of greeting. As for Lin Fan, Tang Ao didn't have much of an opinion. This kind of thing depended on their own abilities. Hence, Tang Ao and Lin Fan didn't have any conflicts. Furthermore, Tang Ao felt that this Lin Fan was not as simple as he seemed. Otherwise, he wouldn't have paid such a huge price to participate in this test. However, whether or not Lin Fan had any secrets, it didn't have much to do with Tang Ao. Hence, Tang Ao's attention was still on this alchemy competition and didn't pay too much attention to Lin Fan. Lin Fan was the same. In order to participate in this alchemy competition, he had paid a huge price. That half of the vitality augmenting pill was something that Lin Fan had obtained by chance in a historical site. Back then, Lin Fan had obtained a total of 2 supreme gray vitality augmenting pills. Now, he was only left with that half. When there were no more questions from the alchemists, Xiao Zhan also announced the official start of the alchemy conference. Following that, a few attendants began to bring out medicine baskets and place them beside the alchemists. These medicine baskets all contained 81 types of spiritual herbs. Clearly, the alchemists were required to identify these 81 spiritual herbs. Chapter 1422. Although these spirit herbs weren't the most common ones, Tang Ao had been looking through the collection of spirit herbs, so Tang Ao could recognize all of them. After identifying the spirit herbs on the surface, Tang Ao was dumbfounded by the scene in front of him. This was because after identifying the spirit herbs on the surface one by one, the remaining spirit herbs were actually cut into pieces. If it was a complete spirit herb, it would be very easy to identify it by its appearance. However, it wasn't so easy to identify these spirit herbs that were cut into pieces. At least, it was completely impossible to identify this kind of spirit herb by its appearance and characteristics. Tang Ao counted. There were a total of 20 types of spirit herbs that were cut into pieces. If one didn't have a very familiar understanding of spirit herbs, it would be impossible to identify so many spirit herbs after being sliced. Tang Ao first grabbed a piece of dark green thin piece. This piece of spirit grass was dark green in color, and there was a 5-pointed star pattern in the middle. The texture was very tough. After looking at it for a while, Tang Ao knew what it was. This spirit herb was called inkweed. It was an 8-star spirit herb. In the Hidden Dragon Cave, or even in the entire Phaeacian continent, 8-star spirit herbs were already very precious. Even though this alchemy conference only used a few pieces of inkweed, it was enough to show the alchemy guild's wealth. One had to know that a piece of inkweed was sold for a supreme grade essence cultivation pill. In other words, the piece of inkweed in Tang Ao's hand was worth more than 10 middle-grade essence cultivation pills. However, such a precious medicinal ingredient was being used for an assessment. After laughing bitterly, Tang Ao recorded the shape and characteristics of the inkweed on the jade slip in his hand. Then, Tang Ao continued to observe the other pieces. Because Tang Ao recorded one type of spirit herb, he put the spirit herbs that he had recorded to the side. Therefore, Tang Ao's medicine basket was quickly emptied. Tang Ao's speed naturally attracted the attention of the surrounding alchemists and the audience. Everyone looked at Tang Ao in surprise. They clearly didn't think that Tang Ao could identify so many spirit herbs in such a short time. Especially the alchemists present, everyone thought that Tang Ao was writing randomly. The audience didn't know what kind of spirit herbs they were going to identify this time, but the crowd of pill refiners on the Pill Refiners Square was very clear. The spirit herbs that were being identified this time were some of the rarer ones. There were even some spirit herbs that might not be seen in their entire lives if they hadn't come across them. For example, the inkweed that Tang Ao identified previously was something that not many alchemists present had seen before. However, Tang Ao didn't care at all about the gazes of the crowd. He continued to carefully examine the spirit herbs in his hand. As time passed, Tang Ao's 20 spirit herb slices were down to the last 3. However, just as Tang Ao picked up a spirit herb and was about to identify it, the alchemist in front of Tang Ao finished identifying it. This was a white-clothed youth with a jade-like face. After identifying the spirit herb, this youth didn't have an excited expression. Instead, he had a calm expression. It seemed that being the first to identify all the spirit herbs out of all the alchemists wasn't something to be happy about. After the attendant gave his jade slip to Xiao Zhan's soul remembrance immediately went into the jade slip. After looking for a moment, Xiao Zhan nodded his head in satisfaction. To be able to identify 78 spirit herbs in such a short time is already very good. Young and accomplished, but not arrogant. Not bad. Hearing that Wang Kun was able to identify 78 spirit herbs in such a short time, the surrounding alchemists were all shocked. Although Wang Kun's background wasn't ordinary, having such knowledge at such an age was already very impressive. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.